Gotta get for a wild ride with a seriously hyped anime called Scissor Seven. Just the title alone gets the adrenaline pumping. Our protagonist is a dude with a rather unique face who spends his days selling stewed beef. But here's the kicker. He can control his scissors through the air like a martial arts master from an action flick. It's an impressive display. But as it turns out, this flashy style wasn't exactly helping his business thrive. Not only was his beef shop failing to attract customers, but some kid even had the nerve to insult his fruit, leading to a quick headbutt from a very sketchy-looking blue bird. This crafty chicken Daibo starts whispering in Seven's ear, telling him to ditch the beef trade and become a professional assassin. He promises high pay, great benefits, year-end bonuses, and even luxury trips abroad. Honestly, it sounds exactly like the kind of pitch those shady dealers use to lure people into bad habits. Despite the wild promises, the reason that truly hooked Seven was the chance to earn enough cash to travel to Stan to cure his amnesia. Seven might only be skilled with scissors, but according to that bird, a guy with no family, no memories, and more importantly, zero morals is basically a natural-born hitman. It's like his entire existence was designed for this dirty work. Right then and there, the bird pulls out a secret manual to kickstart his training. The training regimen begins, focusing on the essential skills every killer needs. First up, the art of stealth and disguise. The blue bird presents him with a magical transformation egg that can turn him into literally anything, even a female bird. Ugh, that's almost too weird to think about. The second skill is the one-hit kill, and the third is the ability to make a lightning-fast getaway. When it comes to escaping, the bluebird has a literal flight plan involving a chicken that can carry them off. For their debut mission, the chicken grabs Seven and hauls him straight into the clouds. Being an assassin clearly isn't as easy as it looks. The final requirement is to be cold and ruthless. After filling his head with these dark lessons, Daibo decides it's time for Seven to face a real-world test. The first mission is bizarre: crash a wedding and shave the bride's head bald. Apparently that was the groom's ex-girlfriend's request. If any of you feel like hiring Seven to mess with your ex, let me know in the comments. Anyway, the couple had been together since they were kids. Seeing their sweet memories projected on the screen makes Seven feel a pang of sadness, mostly because he has no memories of his own to look back on. Was it jealousy? Who knows? But Seven ends up shaving both the bride and the groom as a buy-one, get-one special. Naturally, he's immediately chased by angry guests with knives, running for his life. During his chaotic escape, he runs into a high-tech robot from Stan. The machine spots his assassin badge, identifies Seven as a target for elimination, and moves in for the kill. The battle explodes instantly. Seven isn't backing down. He looks like a master cultivator summoning his divine scissors from a distance. It looks incredibly cool, but there's a problem. The scissors are so far away that Seven gets pummeled before they even arrive. He manages to snip off one of the robot's arms, but the mechanical beast still has another one ready to strike. Seven is moments away from meeting his maker, filled with a desperate wish to know who he actually is and why someone wants him dead. But before the robot can finish him off, Shink, a mysterious masked girl, appears out of nowhere and decapitates the machine. Talk about a dramatic entry. Of course, Seven isn't exactly the grateful type. She looks at him coldly and asks who he is and why he's carrying an assassin's token. Seven's brilliant answer to who he is: "I don't frickin' know." She's about to stab him for the attitude, but luckily, the robot self-destructs, allowing Daibo to swoop in and save Seven's neck. Seven is determined to find the assassin organization to uncover his past. Daibo tells him that if he wants answers, he's going to have to climb the ranks and break into the top 100 assassins. Cracking the top 100 becomes Seven's ultimate goal. To keep a low profile, they set up shop in a barbershop as their secret headquarters. Their first client is a feline boss lady from the cat gang, and she wants Seven to poke out the eyes of the dog gang's leader, getting involved in a petty neighborhood turf war between cats and dogs. It seems a bit beneath the professional killer, doesn't it? It feels a bit undignified, but hey, every career has to start somewhere. Hang in there, Seven. And man, it really is tough. He transforms into a dog, but has to constantly dodge random flying objects while crawling toward the enemy base. Unfortunately, he doesn't get very far before the local canine tough guys sniff him out and surround him. To prove he's actually a dog, Seven is forced to, well, eat dog treats off the ground. It's a talent nature gave only to dogs, and poor Seven has to commit to the bit. Suddenly, he makes his move. With lightning speed, he lunges toward Mad Dog, the leader, aiming straight for his eyes. But in the blink of an eye, Mad Dog catches him and snaps his finger like a twig. Fate was not on Seven's side today. It turns out Mad Dog wears his sunglasses on his forehead, causing Seven's strike to miss completely. Talk about bad luck. Mad Dog is as strong as an ox and starts absolutely bullying poor Seven. Even the most righteous person would be driven to a corner by this kind of relentless assault. But Seven is stubborn as a mule. He tries everything, his feet, even his tongue, desperate to finish the job and driving Mad Dog into a frenzy. Mad Dog flexes his massive muscles and pulls out a guitar, playing a mind-bending melody that leaves Seven's brain in knots. Then, he literally uses the guitar as a club. Seven gets absolutely thrashed. The constant heavy blows trigger a sudden, bloody memory of his past, causing him to transform. He catches the guitar mid-swing and uses his scissors to slice it clean in half. But the power-up only lasts for 2 seconds before his eyes return to normal. Mad Dog roars in anger, pins Seven down and starts strangling him. Just as things look bleak, Mad Dog spots the target photo Seven dropped. He realizes immediately that Meow was the one who sent him. Back when Mad Dog was just a pup busking on the streets, Meow used to watch him play. They fell in love, but she warned him, "If you ever betray me, I'll poke your dog eyes out." Mad Dog never stopped loving her, but after watching too much news about interspecies differences, he got worried. He wondered, would our kids be cats or dogs? To ensure her happiness, he chose to leave. Seven's reaction. What a load of crap. He tells Mad Dog that if he doesn't speak up, no one will ever understand how he truly feels. Seven transforms into a brick to make a quick exit. Later, on a moonless night, Mad Dog finds Meow and serenades her with a romantic ballad, explaining everything. They reunite in a tearful embrace, but just as things get mushy, that masked assassin from before strikes like a bolt of lightning. She launches a rapid-fire attack on Mad Dog, but Meow Meow reacts just in time to block it. Wait. It turns out Mad Dog was actually Seven in disguise. He's definitely a sneaky one. Meow Meow quickly calls in her cat squad to attack, but Plum Blossom 13 is simply too powerful for them. Wielding dual blades, 13 carves through the cat gang with ease. When Meow Meow turns around to check on Seven, she sees he's already booked it, leaving her completely speechless. 13 manages to cut Seven off, and even though he's back in his human form, she has no intention of letting him go. She's determined to end him, forcing Seven to bring out his scissors. Facing off against the rank 37 assassin is a brutal uphill battle. However, Seven manages a lucky strike and knocks off 13's mask, revealing a surprisingly beautiful face. He tries to fly away using his chicken, shouting that he's seen her face now, so she has to take responsibility. 13 isn't amused. She shoots down the chicken duo with her darts. To avoid being silenced forever, Seven has to fight for real. His scissors zoom through the air, relentlessly attacking 13. He even unleashes a secret technique, splitting the scissors into 2 separate blades to rain down attacks on her. His lightning-fast strikes force 13 onto the defensive. Furious, she throws her daggers to push back the scissors and lunges forward, using the blade hidden in her ponytail to finish him off. With both scissors pinned down, Seven resorts to a shameful technique, literally grabbing her to throw off her aim. Seven's dirty move works, causing her blade to miss its mark. 13, now truly enraged, gathers all her energy and flies at him like a legendary hero for one final decisive strike. But just as the situation looks hopeless, a massive muscular arm reaches out and crushes something. Wait, not an orange, but the sword itself. Our savior is a guy who looks a bit eccentric, constantly flexing and showing off his muscles. Despite the weirdness, he's incredibly strong, sending 13 flying backward with a single punch. As the cat gang arrives to back them up, 13 realizes she's outnumbered and calls in her aircraft for a quick exit. The first mission ends relatively smoothly. For his next job, Seven has to deal with a total creep who has a fetish for collecting underwear. Seven has to swallow his pride and transform into a pair of women's underwear to infiltrate the enemy's room. Seeing that creep's face just makes you want to punch him. He quickly takes Seven and hangs him up on a display frame. Seven is pinned up alongside the rest of the collection. The moment the creep turns his back, Seven prepares to strike, but an accident causes him to fall. He's about to suffer the ultimate humiliation of being warned by that guy when suddenly, the local women's association bursts in, determined to take down the pervert once and for all, wiping out the creep in his stash of underwear. Damn it, I bought these hot items from Japan, I didn't steal them from you ladies. Seven wondered if being a panty thief was a lifelong label as the boss lady, prepared to burn the entire collection. He stepped in to stop her, even putting out the fire in a rather unique and cool way. Seven argued that many people have weird hobbies. Sure, collecting underwear sounds disgusting, but it's not hurting anyone's livelihood, so there's no need for violence. Since talking didn't work, it was time to fight. The long-haired girl quickly used clone techniques and high-speed movement to daze Seven. Then, a short, stout girl lunged at him, delivering a beating he wouldn't soon forget, tossing him around like a rag doll. Seven took hit after hit with no way to defend himself, falling into the chubby girl's grasp. The final boss, an old lady, pulled out her weapon to teach Seven a lesson. Surprisingly, the pervert tried to help, but he was instantly swatted away. The old lady then began destroying the stash of underwear. This whole fight felt absurd, but Seven wasn't giving up. He quickly retaliated, using his magic scissors to destroy the old lady's weapon, strip the girl's clothes, and knock the glasses off the stout girl. He launched a finishing move at the old lady, but she was surprisingly agile, dodging and soaring like a bird while mounting a fierce counterattack. She and Seven traded blows in a heated exchange. Seven was forced to use his dual blade technique, but the old lady was too quick and evaded every strike. Pushed by Seven's pressure, she suddenly powered up like a Super Saiyan, kicked him into the sky, and pummeled him before unleashing a bizarre energy blast. It was surreal. She might as well be Goku's mother. However, Seven wasn't one to back down easily. He unleashed his soaring eagle technique and managed to drive the group away. After the battle, only shredded underwear remained. It turns out Seven only helped because he shares a deep appreciation for those items too. Honestly, Seven's logic is something else. Now let's talk about Granny Chen. She's a piece of work scamming people with insane prices and then faking injuries to extort money. She's basically a daylight robber. Seven is assigned to take her out and tries to tell her why this guy is a cardboard box, but the old lady is sharp and spots him instantly. She stomps on the box without mercy, crushing poor Seven before grabbing him by the collar. Granny Chen is tough, even hanging out with some serious underworld figures. Just as Seven is about to make his move and finish the job, a stray dog suddenly jumps in, ruining his chance. A tug-of-war breaks out over the bag. Seven is hiding in, stretching him like he's made of rubber. He'd need Luffy's powers to survive this comfortably. Eventually, Seven has to reveal himself, kicking the dog away. The fiery old lady immediately gets in his face, demanding he pay for the damaged bag. She threatens to kill him if he doesn't cough up the cash. Seven tries to run, but Granny Chen is like a mafia boss, grabbing him by the hair with terrifying strength. He tries to throw his scissors, but she's one step ahead, using Seven himself as a human shield, so he ends up getting hit by his own attack. Granny Chen is ruthless, cruel, and incredibly skilled. Seven is completely beaten, crying and begging for his life. She's about to give him a serious beating when her grandson arrives from school, unintentionally saving Seven from a world of hurt. But wait, it gets worse. When Granny Chen sees her grandson's terrible haircut done by Seven, of course she goes absolutely ballistic, screaming about who ruined her precious boy's look. The kicker, the person who hired Seven to kill her was her own son. What kind of family drama is this? She transforms into her old assassin persona, Black Rose, and starts pummeling Seven. Her outfit is, let's just say, questionable enough to make anyone stare. Daibo tries a dirty trick, firing an arrow at the grandson to distract her, forcing Granny Chen to jump in front of the boy to protect him. Unexpectedly, Seven steps in and blocks all the arrows himself. Seeing his mother survive, the son looks terrified and quickly hides a piece of paper. Seven leaves without getting paid, stuck eating plain porridge, but he's left wondering how a son could be so heartless as to put a hit on his own mother. After dealing with cats, dogs, and grandmas, Seven finds himself being hired by a seemingly fragile girl. One look at her sweet face, and he's completely smitten, acting like a total fool. He agrees to help her complete a whole list of final wishes before carrying out the hit. The girl's bucket list is honestly pretty bizarre. She wants to try peeing standing up, streaking in public, and even stabbing a nurse's butt. Since Seven is the hired hand, he's the one forced to do all the embarrassing stuff and take the fall for it. They go around dining and dashing, getting cursed out by everyone. Seven even tries to help her punish a creep, but he ends up getting hurt himself. At one point, he transforms into a lion to help her out, but nearly gets harassed by a real male lion. Talk about having the worst luck ever. Seven and the girl are flown high into the sky by Xiao Fei, but the bird suddenly drops them. Seven manages to transform into a plane just before they hit the ground, flying her around to watch the sunset. Of course, since he doesn't have a pilot's license, he ends up crashing into a tree, but at least he finished the list. It turns out the girl, Cola, has terminal cancer and doesn't have much time left. She didn't want to die in a hospital bed, which is why she hired Seven, but after learning about her suffering, her loneliness, and how people mocked her, Seven realizes he just can't do it. Instead of taking her life, he introduces her to a legendary doctor. He might be an assassin, but he's got a huge heart. Since he keeps failing his missions and making no money, Seven is forced to sell coconuts to survive, while Daibo keeps hitting him over the head for being such a failure. Seven is more interested in flirting than selling coconuts. Just as he's about to put sunscreen on a pretty girl, Xiao Fei drags him away and drops him onto a naval building. The mission: infiltrate a submarine and kill the pirate commander. Seven transforms into a fish and fakes being dead so the sailors will pull him aboard. The sailors catch fish 7, but instead of anything cool, they start arguing about whether to fry or steam him. Poor 7 is getting tossed around so much he starts foaming at the mouth. Finally, Captain Jack shows up and decides he wants to skewer the fish with his own blades. Suddenly, 7 goes full Bruce Lee mode, dodging every strike with incredible precision. He tries to land a finishing blow, but Jack is a pro and catches the blade with his teeth. He tosses 7 into the air and forces him back into his human form. 7 then prepares to unleash his secret scissor technique. 7 charges in, but it's a total disaster. Jack effortlessly breaks his scissors and sends him flying with a single strike. Not one to give up. 7 waits for Jack to start gloating, and then hurls a slipper at his face. He tries to follow up with a quick strike, but Jack is just on another level. Jack blocks everything and sends 7 crashing into a wall. As his hair falls loose, Jack suddenly recognizes him. It turns out they had a run-in years ago where 7 killed Jack's partner and treated him with total contempt. Jack lunges forward seeking revenge, but 7 manages to land a single, powerful strike that drops him. But 7 is too weak to follow up and gets punched right into the floor. Jack is confused by how weak 7 has become. 7 asks why Jack is trying to take over the island, mentioning how the old Coast Guard guy sold his only pair of pants just to hire an assassin to protect it. In a fit of rage, 7 tries to punch the submarine itself. He wants to sink the whole sub, but the steel is too thick for his bare hands. Jack makes a deal. If 7 can make him move even a single inch, he'll leave the island alone. 7 starts by throwing eggs at Jack's henchmen, and when Jack turns around to look, he's greeted by 7's most hideous, terrifying face. Jack is so startled by 7's horrific expression that he actually flinches and steps back. Mission accomplished. 7 uses the little money he earned to buy the old sailor some new pants, leaving him broke yet again. His next job is to assassinate a rich guy hired by the man's rather unattractive wife. Watching from afar, 7 realizes the bodyguard is seriously tough. This isn't going to be an easy hit. He tries to sneak in as a crab, but the guard is on high alert. Then he tries to be a rubber duck. But he just gets squeezed and tossed around until he's dizzy. He almost gets eaten before they finally throw him aside. Finally, as the duck, 7 gets close to the target. Just as he's about to strike, a massive whale swallows him whole. Talk about rotten luck. 7 punches the whale from the inside until it spits him out, and when he reaches the surface, he's face to face with the bodyguard, Dachun. A fight is inevitable. The battle begins. 7 throws his scissors, but that same whale shows up and eats them again. Dachun scoffs, saying nobody uses scissors anymore, and pulls out a literal handgun. 7 is terrified and tries to challenge Dachun to a manly duel instead, a fair fistfight. He suggests they take turns punching each other. Dachun surprisingly agrees. He's incredibly buff and well-trained, while 7, well, he's got a bit of a belly. Still, 7 gathers his courage and charges in to strike first. 7's punch hits Dachun's golden bell technique, and he practically breaks his own hand. Then Dachun lands a hit that leaves 7's face looking like an abstract painting. 7 keeps coming back for more, getting thrashed over and over, but his sheer persistence actually earns Dachun's respect. They stare each other down for days, neither willing to back down. Finally, the rich guy comes outside. 7 tries to distract Dachun by shouting about beautiful girls, hoping for a chance to strike the target. But Dachun is way too sharp for such a cheap trick. 7 is inches away from his target when Dachun grabs him and puts him in a 7-day body lock. 7 boasts he can break it in 90 seconds, but he fails miserably. For the next week, they are inseparable climbing mountains, eating, even going to the bathroom while stuck together. Just when things couldn't get weirder, 13 shows up to finish 7 off. 7 uses Dachun's invincible body as a shield against her darts, eventually forcing her to retreat. Their intimate week continues as they watch the sunrise together, still locked in that awkward embrace. Suddenly, a missile streaks across the sky. 7 is ready to run, but Dachun releases him and stands tall to take the hit himself. Boom! Everything is engulfed in fire. From beneath the waves, a massive spaceship belonging to the people of Stan slowly emerges. The Stan pilot looks down at 7, whose hair is now messy and eyes filled with rage. Dachun has been knocked unconscious, but luckily a local bodybuilder rescues him. The Stan warrior scans 7, and his computer immediately flags 7's true hidden identity. The Stan warrior tries to eliminate 7 on the spot. 7 dodges and throws his scissors, but the pilot's laser sword slices him to pieces. In the face of death, 7's memories start flashing back. Just as the killing blow is about to land, Xiaofei swoops in and pulls 7 to safety. The Prince of Stan ignores them and begins his true mission, mining the island's core for energy. He coldly announces to everyone that he needs this power for Stan's technology. The problem: Once he extracts the energy, the entire island will sink into the ocean. He tells everyone to clear out if they want to live. It's blatant robbery. Daiba tells Seven they should leave, explaining that the world is run by three powers: the martial masters of Xuanwu, the tech geniuses of Stan, and the ordinary people who don't stand a chance against either side. But Dai Chun begs Seven to help, offering everything he owns to stop the invasion. The first to step up is Meow with her sharp claws, but the Prince of Stan effortlessly cuts them down. Just as she's about to be sliced, Mad Dog rushes in to save her, using his sound-based attacks. Mad Dog's acoustic music is actually hurting the prince, even through his high-tech armor. To counter, the prince cranks up some hardcore rock music from his ship. The sheer volume overwhelms Mad Dog, leaving both him and Meow defeated and battered. The old sailor tries his luck with a gun, but he's instantly countered and gets shot right through the chest. Then Cola tries to use her charms to distract the prince, but he's committed to his mission and pushes her aside. Things are looking grim for our island heroes. Suddenly, Chairman Zhang from the Women's Association arrives, unleashing a thunderous strike that forces the prince to retreat. He fires back with a massive energy beam, but our over 50 hero blocks it and reflects the blast right back at his ship, destroying it. Chairman Jiang is exhausted, and her limbs are shaking after that move. The prince prepares another missile for a final blow. She tries to take him down with her, but he activates a powerful shield. Just as the explosion clears, a flying sword streaks through the air with unmatched speed. The sword pierces the prince's defenses, wounding him badly. It's Seven. He saved Chairman Zhang and now stands before the boss. The two clash in a spectacular sword fight. Seven had a huge argument with Daibo about fighting this battle, but in the end, the bird still has his back. Daibo tosses Seven his original sword, the one he was holding when he first washed up on shore. But the blade is weak and shatters almost instantly against Stan's tech. As the prince moves in for the kill, 13 suddenly intervenes with her darts, jumping into the fray to protect Seven. 13 launches a surprise attack, but the prince's high-tech hoverboard helps him dodge, though his clothes get sliced. Just as they prepare for the next round, Xiaofei drops from the sky, transforming into a massive, muscular chicken and landing a heavy punch on the prince's shield. The prince prepares his weapons to kill the chicken, but Xiaofei counters with a powerful drill attack. 7 and 13 take the opportunity to strike at the prince's openings. Realizing he's outnumbered and outmatched, the Prince of Stan decides to take things to the next level. He transforms into a suit of armor reminiscent of Iron Man and blasts all three of them. Xiaofei is knocked out instantly, reverting to his small form. As the prince pummels 7, 13 surprisingly steps in to shield him from the blasts. Could this be love? 13's defensive barrier is holding, but the prince is charging up an even more powerful shot. 7 knows she can't take another hit like that, so he pulls her away just in time. After the massive explosion, it seems they've been vaporized. But 7 has transformed into a leaf to sneak up on the enemy. 7 catches the prince off guard and puts him in Dachun's unbreakable body lock. 13 moves in for the finishing blow, but she's caught in the prince's stasis field. 7, however, has another trick up his sleeve. He can control his scissors telekinetically even while holding the lock. The scissor shards reassemble, glowing with lightning, and shoot forward at light speed, piercing right through the prince. And 7. The prince survives the blow, but 7 collapses. Xiaofei desperately tries to revive him as 7 drifts into a dreamlike state. 7 remembers his past as the legendary killer of Xuanwu. He betrayed his organization to save a girl, only for her to stab him in the back at the last moment. He was forced to shatter his demonic blade to escape, eventually being found by Daibo. Back in the present, 7 wakes up with glowing red eyes. In his dazed state, he mistakes 13 for his old flame, making her blush furiously. He summons all the shards of the 1,000 demon daggers, unleashing an overwhelming aura. The Prince of Stan deploys his maximum strength shields, thinking nothing can break through his defense. 7 cleverly makes the shards bypass the shield before reassembling them, slicing clean through the prince's arm. The prince tries to retaliate with a giant robot, but 7 carves the machine into pieces like it's a watermelon. Defeated, the Prince of Stan flees in a small escape pod. 7 is in a bad state, not even recognizing Daibo before collapsing. 13's master, watching through her mechanical eye, orders her to kill 7 and bring back his sword. But as the islanders wait anxiously, 7 survives his surgery and returns to his usual loudmouth self. Our immoral but lovable 7 is back. 13 actually visits him and gives him a brand new pair of scissors. Is this the start of something more? What lies ahead for the world's greatest amnesiac assassin? Stick around for Season 2 to find out. Season 2 begins on Chicken Island, where a genius hairstylist has become the talk of the town. Is it our hero 7? Nope. It's some random young punks who showed up and opened their own shop. Daibo is absolutely fuming about the competition and their flashy marketing. These new guys are dangerous and have plenty of cash for ads. They claim to cut hair using fancy martial arts techniques like ice palms and gale fists. But the actual results, let's just say they look like total garbage. It turns out having a trash can head is a real style now. Seven decides to handle the competition the civilized way by biting them and running away. Unfortunately, those three aren't exactly pushovers, and they start chasing him with knives. After getting a bit of a beating, Seven starts worrying about when he'll ever earn enough money to go to Stan and fix his amnesia. He hasn't earned a single cent as an assassin so far, and his barbershop is going broke. Just then, Daechun comes in for a wash manly, right. He brings some serious news. Several mysterious new assassins have arrived on the island, and he needs Seven's help to protect the people. Fighting fellow assassins is usually against the rules, but when Daechun offers 100,000 for each one caught, well, Seven's morals disappear pretty fast. He decides to become a hero of justice for the right price, mostly because he's about to starve to death. He wants to save the world, but he's also secretly terrified because these guys are real killers. Daibo gives him a new gadget hair wax container that can fire sneak attack darts to give Seven a little more confidence as he heads out to face the danger. The first guy he meets is a master gambler. Seven tries to use his new dart tool, but the gambler accidentally blocks it without even trying. Seven then decides to settle the fight with a high-stakes dice game instead of actual combat. Talk about a weird way to duel. During the game, Seven gets too enthusiastic and a dart accidentally fires and hits the guy in the chest. Before Seven can claim any reward, the local shop owner demands he pay for damages, so Seven bolts. He wanders off to find some food, but the meatball shop owner turns out to be another assassin. The guy thinks Seven is there to kill him and attacks first. He's incredibly tough and gives Seven an absolute thrashing. Seven is nearly turned into a human meatball. This guy is probably one of the most stubborn opponents Seven has faced so far. Seven has to transform into a meatball just to escape. Since fighting fair isn't working, he decides to play dirty. He sneaks up behind the guy and bites his sensitive tail. The guy screams in pain and ends up crashing into a sharp rock, finally going down. Seven then has a run-in with a female assassin who's trying her best to look cool and professional. She gets splashed with water and looks a bit pathetic, but she's determined to prove she's a top-tier killer. She attacks Seven to prove she's not weak, but Seven realizes she's just not that good. Seven effortlessly handles her attacks, proving he's actually quite skilled. He feels bad for her and decides not to fight. He's about to head home when he sees Granny Chen and Cola being harassed by a group of thugs. Time to step in. Seven rushes in and drives back the thugs, telling Cola to get Granny Chen to safety. But one of the enemies is an assassin who draws his sword for a duel. Suddenly, he fires a hidden bullet from his blade. That's a total disgrace to the samurai code talk about playing dirty. I've seen a lot of movies, but this guy is something else. Seven luckily blocks the bullet and launches his scissors. The enemy deflects them, but Seven splits the blades to distract him before flying in and knocking the guy out with a single punch. Defeated, the guy finally shows some honor and asks who Seven is. Seven introduces himself as the island's best barber, offering him a buy one, pay for three special. The guy actually feels relieved and thinks the experience was strangely refreshing, even promising to visit the shop later. It turns out Granny Chen just had kidney stones, not an injury from thugs. Later, the rival barbers try to bully Seven again, but 13 shows up and scares them off instantly. She warns Seven that even more powerful assassins are coming and tells him to run if he wants to stay alive. The rival barbers were making a big mistake. That samurai assassin, Ichizuru, actually comes to Seven's shop for a haircut to impress a girl. Since Seven is perpetually single and bitter, he gives the guy a total trash can haircut. He's such a jerk. The rivals try to copy Seven's discounts, but no one trusts them. Seven might have his scissors, but he clearly lacks common sense, buying the exact same outfit over and over. Meanwhile, 13 remembers how Seven saved her life and has been avoiding her orders to kill him. She promised to fight him once he was fully recovered, but her master's orders are hard to ignore. She eventually attacks him, and Seven just runs away trying to stick to the never hit a lady rule. But 13 is a master, with both blaze and rapid-fire darts. Seven is struggling to dodge her relentless attacks. 13 is hot-headed and dangerous, even putting bystanders at risk. When darts don't work, she switches to throwing knives, determined to finish Seven off today. The level of destruction she causes is just insane. Seven eventually yells, "Fine, I'm wrong. I'm a dog, happy now." But 13 doesn't stop, even landing a dart right in his butt. She chases him all over the island, looking like she's ready to turn him into dinner. It's a wild, high-speed hunt. Seven tries to fly away with Xiao Fei, but 13 reveals she has a much bigger bird, She knocks them out of the sky, sending Seven crashing into the ground. She's been trained to follow orders without question and suppress all her emotions no matter what. Fearing her master's punishment, she prepares a lethal strike. Seven, however, finally shows some courage and decides to stand his ground. He proposes a deal. They duel for 3 moves. If he loses, he leaves the island forever. But if he wins, he wants a date. 13 is furious and unleashes her ultimate technique. Deep down, she might actually like him, but she owes her life to her master. She launches a coordinated attack with her dual blades, but Seven has his own secret weapon ready. Seven uses a smoke bomb and transforms into the very blade in 13's hand. She realizes it quickly, but Seven suddenly senses a real threat. Just as an attack is about to hit her, he pulls 13 into a protective embrace, and they end up in a strange, mid-air tango. Seven manages to wound the new attacker, who turns out to be 13's older sister, 11. She's not nearly as strong as her sister and quickly flies away. Before Seven can celebrate, 13 slaps him. She decides that was their 3rd move and calls it even. She returns his 1,000 demon daggers as a way to repay her debt to him. She also gives him a hit list of powerful people on the island. Sun was planning to conquer Chicken Island by eliminating its strongest defenders, people who might be few, but are incredibly dangerous. These warriors are incredibly resilient. 13 was originally sent to kill them, but since she's been slacking off, the organization has now put bounties on their heads. She also warns Seven that her master is still determined to see him dead. As 13 leaves, the first attack begins at Mad Dog's camp. An assassin with a guitar uses cursed music to pick off the dog gang one by one. Mad Dog rushes in with his electric guitar to counter the sound, facing off against an old rival from his past. The battle ends with Mad Dog seriously injured and hospitalized, leaving Meow Meow heartbroken. Mad Dog tried to use his intense rock music, but the enemy's melancholy acoustic melody cut right through him. It was like a sad love story that hit him right in the heart. Mad Dog was completely defeated by the power of that sad song. Daibo identifies it as a famous heartbreak ballad. Definitely not something you want to hear after a breakup. They set a trap using a dog disguised in a lonely field to lure the musical assassin out. The assassin sees the dog and immediately attacks. But wait, it's actually Seven in disguise. He smashes a bottle over the assassin's head and puts him in a professional MMA lock. But this guy doesn't need to move to fight. His guitar is enough. He starts playing that same heartbreaking song again, and Seven is instantly paralyzed by the sadness. The assassin takes the chance to strike, but Daibo, who apparently has no soul, remains unaffected and tries to shoot him. Unfortunately, Daibo's combat skills are pretty lacking. Daibo is taken out quickly, but he bought enough time for Seven to recover. Seven has Xiaofei transform into a pair of noise-canceling headphones to block the music. The assassin then reveals his guitar can fire lasers, forcing Seven into a desperate high-speed chase. Seven decides to get close to end the fight. Xiaofei launches him forward at incredible speed, allowing him to bypass the lasers. He stays right on top of the assassin, relentlessly attacking the guitar. Despite the assassin's attempts to create space, Seven eventually manages to slice the guitar strings. Just when it looks like Seven has won, the assassin pulls a hidden sword right out of the guitar neck. Seven's basic scissors are no match for a real blade. He tries to defend himself, but the assassin lands a heavy kick that sends him face first into the dirt. As the assassin prepares for the final blow, Meow Meow steps in to stop him. She recognizes him as Atai, her former deputy. It turns out Atai was wearing a fake dog nose, which is the only reason he could survive the smell of Seven's famously stinky feet during the fight. Atai was the second in command of the cats and deeply in love with Meow Meow. Heartbroken that she only had eyes for Mad Dog, he left the island and wandered into Shiwenwu. There, he met a legendary musical master who saw his potential as a master of sadness magic. After months of intense training, he became a powerful warrior. He returned to Chicken Island to win her back, only to find her still with Mad Dog. He attacked to prove he was the stronger man, but Meow tells him he's got it all wrong. She doesn't love Mad Dog for his guitar playing. While Seven and the gang are busy watching the drama unfold like a soap opera, Meow Browse drops the final blow. She tells Atai he's a good person, but her heart belongs to Mad Dog. Atai accepts his defeat and leaves the island again, ending this tearful cat and dog romance once and for all. So, Coca-Cola drops by Seven's shop to show some support, but she's actually there to tempt him into skipping work for a little adventure. Of course, Seven is way too much of a serious professional to just walk out on his job, but Coca-Cola knows how the world works. She's a total high roller and just tosses a fat stack of cash at Daibao. Just like that, Seven is officially rented out as her personal companion for the day. Man, money really talks, doesn't it? He hops on his motorcycle and takes her out for a spin, checking in on her health on the way. It turns out Coca-Cola is battling cancer. But luckily, the miracle Dr. Seven introduced her to, even if he looks like a total quack, has managed to keep her condition from getting any worse. The catch is that Despair Doctor's divine medicine is in short supply, with only a few bottles left. It's a race against time before they run out completely. Coca-Cola just wants to enjoy a moment of peace while she still feels okay. But right at that second, Seven gets gagged and tied up. An invisible assassin appears, planning to use his creepy tongue technique to paralyze Seven so he can't eat or drink, eventually leaving him to wither away. I mean, seriously, if he dies, do you really think you're walking away unscathed? They're deep in the woods now, and things are getting intense. To Coca-Cola's shock, the Prince of Stan suddenly emerges. He's managed to track down his gear and recover the energy stone hidden beneath Chicken Island, the same one from when Seven trashed his giant robot. It turns out the tech survived the blast. You have to remember, the country of Stan is miles ahead of everyone else when it comes to high-tech development and crazy scientific advancements. In a flash, that device transforms into a sleek spaceship. But here's the kicker. Coca-Cola realizes that touching the prince makes him freeze up instantly. She starts threatening him, saying she'll scream for Seven to come finish the job. Since the prince already got his clock cleaned by Seven once before, he has no choice but to surrender and agree to take her wherever she wants to go. Talk about playing your cards right. The prince reluctantly takes Coca-Cola back to his homeland for a visit. Meanwhile, Seven is still tied up, but that invisible chameleon assassin gets run over by a car in the middle of the street. Even so, the little guy is determined to stick to the plan of kidnapping Seven. It's basically a kill or be killed situation for him. And let me tell you, the country of Stan definitely lives up to the hype. It's like stepping into a literal city of the future. Once they arrive, Coca-Cola is put through a rigorous medical scan that reveals a dark secret. She was actually a failed experiment by Stan and the superpower country. They were trying to create children with both genius IQs and godlike abilities. But the project went south. These kids weren't exactly stable, to say the least. Most of those test subjects died young because their bodies just couldn't handle the strain, suffering from one illness after another. Coca-Cola's mother fled with her to Chicken Island to save her, but now her condition is critical. The only way she can be cured is if she agrees to stay in Stan to be used as a guinea pig for further experiments. But Coca-Cola, she's not interested in being a lab rat at all. Thankfully, Prince Stan is a total gentleman and agrees to fly her back home without making a fuss. When she reunites with Seven, he's still standing in the exact same spot like a total goof. They jump on the bike and head out for some fun again. Coca-Cola is in high spirits, wanting to play games and even joking about hijacking a food truck. Despite everything, they're still managing to have a blast together. They seem so genuinely happy and full of life, which is a stark contrast to that poor chameleon still struggling nearby. Prince Stan watches them from afar, confused by how these low-level humans can find so much joy in such simple things. He's actually starting to feel a bit jealous of their normal lives. Meanwhile, business at the barbershop is totally dead, so Seven has to pivot. He's back to his old hustle of selling beef stew just to make enough for some new clothes. Honestly, it feels like he's working way too hard for nothing. Suddenly, Daibao calls him up because a VIP client has arrived for a haircut. You won't believe it, but it's Captain Jack. Meanwhile, Meihua is being super professional, taking Seven's 1,000 demon dagger to a master blacksmith. She wants to get a repair before she hands it back over, but get this. That blade is actually a national treasure of the God Country. Known as the 1,000 Demon Dagger, it's forged from thousands of fragments that can attack from any angle, making it nearly impossible to dodge. It's an incredibly lethal weapon, but in the hands of someone who doesn't know what they're doing, it's basically just expensive scrap metal. Without the right skills, that legendary sword is useless. Seven goes to meet Jack, but it turns out Jack isn't there for a trim, he's there for revenge. Apparently, Seven once beat him in a duel and gifted him a meter-long centipede tattoo right across his chest. Our current Seven has zero memory of this, of course, but the legend of how he trashed the Prince of Stan in the first part has already spread to Jack's ears. Jack decides he's going to help Seven get his memory back by dousing everything in gasoline. He lights a candle and tells Seven that if he doesn't win before the flame goes out, he's going to roast Daibao alive. Seven might be starving for some roast chicken, but he's not about to let his buddy get cooked. Even though they're both captains, this is getting way too literal. Jack is moving like a man possessed, effortlessly dodging Seven's scissor attacks. Seven tries to create a diversion to rescue Daibao, but Jack is one step ahead and has his men block the way. It's a classic standoff, but Seven is finding that even his best scissor tricks aren't enough to break through Jack's defense. This is looking really bad for our guys. He keeps attacking, but he can't leave a scratch. Seven realizes he has no choice but to tap into his hidden potential. Meanwhile, Meihua is watching and wondering who Seven really is. Why does that demonic blade respond to him when it treats her like a total stranger? Suddenly, she senses a massive, overwhelming aura beginning to surge from him. This massive energy is coming from Seven, who is spinning his scissors at an insane 5,000 RPM. That's 5 times faster than his usual limit. He unleashes a literal tornado of blades at Jack, catching him in a storm of steel. Jack is struggling just to stay on his feet as Seven pours every ounce of strength into this ultimate assault. It's absolutely wild to watch. Seven pulls out his ultimate move, but Jack counters with his terrifying deep-sea specter technique. It's a bizarre and powerful counterattack that manages to wound Seven even though the move itself was partially broken. Jack taunts him, saying the only way he can win is by using the Thousand Demon Dagger. But Seven doesn't even have the thing. He's trying to act tough, but he's running out of options fast. Seven tries a dirty trick, throwing 2 scissor blades where one is actually a decoy while he goes for a sneak attack. But Jack is just too fast. He dodges effortlessly and starts raining down kicks on Seven's face until he's a bruised mess. Jack is actually disappointed. Ever since his loss, he's been obsessed with getting a real rematch against the legendary Seven he remembers. He wants to defeat Seven once and for all to escape the shadow of his past failure. But the Seven standing in front of him now. He's basically a pushover. Mehua is watching the whole thing, still waiting to see if Seven's true self will finally emerge. Jack sneers that if Seven is going to be this useless, he might as well just finish him off. Jack decides he's done waiting and gets ready to turn Dai Bao into dinner. Seven is completely out of tricks and has no choice but to keep attacking, but then he does something crazy. He uses his own scissors to carve a centipede tattoo onto his own chest. He's literally sacrificing himself, hoping Jack will take the revenge and let his friend go. Mehua can't just stand there and watch this tragedy unfold anymore. She leaps into the fray, blade drawn to protect her man. When Jack sees the Thousand Demon Dagger, he immediately tries to seize it for himself. In the chaos, Seven collapses, which distracts Mehua and leaves her wide open. As Seven sees that monster closing in on his girl, something deep inside his subconscious snaps and begins to awaken. His eyes turn a terrifying crimson as he seizes control of the Thousand Demon Dagger, turning its fragments into a meteor shower of blades that shatters Jack's specter into dust. He then reforms the sword for a final clash. Jack, who came here for vengeance, is now absolutely terrified that he's about to get another permanent centipede souvenir. But surprisingly, Seven doesn't deliver a fatal blow. Instead, he just gives Jack a very aggressive haircut. For Jack, being ugly is a fate worse than death, so he immediately tucks tail and runs for his life. Mehua acts all shy and tsundere, claiming she didn't need his help at all. But right then, they both catch the delicious scent of roast chicken drifting through the air. The chicken is almost done, and after the battle, both Dai Bao and Seven are patched up by the miracle doctor. It costs a fortune, so Dai Bao, being the absolute rascal he is, decides to skip out on the bill. What an ungrateful bird. Meanwhile, Seven, even though he's seriously injured, disappears. You guessed it, he's crawled off to try and flirt with Mehua again. Some habits never die. Mehua threatens to stab him for being such a shameless flirt, but Seven really is bold. He tells her he made a lot of money selling beef stew and bought her a little gift as swimsuit for the beach. He gets all embarrassed and runs off yelling over his shoulder that they should go for a swim together sometime. How charmingly awkward is that? Mehua is actually a little touched. But once she sees the swimsuit, her face turns bright red and she vows to kill that perverted Seven. Suddenly, a stranger shows Dai Bao a video of Seven being tied up and kidnapped. He tells Dai Bao he needs to go on a rescue mission immediately. Panicked, Dai Bao rushes off to follow the coordinates provided. He follows the tracker to an old familiar spot, but the cockfighting arena has been turned into a chicken boxing ring. That's where King Dike appears, looking more menacing than ever. This guy is the same one who beat Dai Bao to a pulp in their last match years ago. It's a blast from the past that Dai Bao definitely wasn't hoping for, even though Dai Bao eventually won back then. King Dike is back from the dead. He's sporting a metallic arm that looks just like the Winter Soldier's, and he's itching for a revenge match. Honestly, looking at the two of them, Dai Bao is looking like a total underdog here. This revenge plot feels more like it's going to be a total blowout for poor Dai Bao. As soon as the fight starts, Dai Bao gets kicked around like a soccer ball, but he's still mostly worried about his friend Seven. It turns out King Dike brought some high-tech stand gear with him, a Korean camera, that sucked Seven inside and teleported him somewhere far away. The only way for Dai Bao to save his buddy is to somehow win this impossible fight. Dai Bao mocks him for relying on pay-to-win gear, telling him to drop the VIP items and fight like a man, only to get kicked again for his trouble. King Dike just laughs, basically saying there's no point in spending money if you're not going to use the power. But the truth is, King Dike went through absolute hell to get back to this point. After Daibao defeated him, the people who lost money on the fight tried to turn him into dinner. While they were literally plucking his feathers, he managed to escape, only to be captured by the country of Stan. He was subjected to countless agonizing experiments, but those trials eventually gave him the overwhelming power he has now. He's now a specialized assassin for Stan, and seeing Daibao on his latest mission was a huge bonus for him. He thinks Daibao is still a loser who can't do anything without his Sting energy drink, but he's in for a surprise. Over the last few years, Daibao has been training in secret, and he doesn't need a drink to power up anymore. Daibao transforms into a massive, muscular forest hero form with lethal black claws that look incredibly intimidating. King Dike senses the danger and tries to open fire, but Daibao dives in for a lightning-fast counterattack to end it. Or at least, that's what Daibao thought was going to happen in his head. King Dike's built-in AI analyzed the move and countered perfectly. He's got jet boosters and machine guns built into his body, attacking like a fighter jet with laser swords. But Daibao isn't giving up. He finds an opening, grabs Dike's leg, and starts swinging him around like a ragdoll before slamming him into the dirt. Even after being slammed, King Dike's gear is just too high tier. He blasts Daibao away and drags him back for a brutal beatdown. To make matters worse, Daibao's transformation time runs out. He shrinks back into a tiny chicken. He's completely defeated and ready to die. As long as Seven and the others are spared, he's actually begging his enemy for mercy. King Dike just laughs like a maniac, wondering why Daibao, who used to hate humans just as much as any other fighting rooster, would sacrifice himself for one. Daibao admits that at first he only tricked Seven into becoming an assassin because he wanted to watch humans kill each other as revenge for what they did to his kind. But Seven turned out to be a total failure of an assassin who couldn't bring himself to kill anyone, even ending up saving his targets instead. Little Flying Chicken really grew to love Seven's kind heart, and Daibao realized that he'd slowly let go of his grudge. He actually enjoys this peaceful life they built together, and he's not ashamed of it. Seeing that look of happiness on Daibao's face just makes King Dike more furious, so he moves in for the kill. Just as Daibao is thinking of his old friends one last time, the ghost of the legendary Great Flying Chicken seems to appear. It moves with insane speed, weaving through the air and landing a sharp peck right on King Dike's head. He can't believe his eyes and tries to strike back, but boom, a cloud of smoke erupts. It wasn't a ghost, it was Seven in disguise. He uses a transformation egg to become a muscle-bound version of Little Flying Chicken and puts King Dike in a bear hug. While he's got him pinned, Seven manages to snip the power cables on Dike's mechanical gear. King Dike's battery dies instantly and he collapses. Seven immediately starts demanding a refund for the photo. It turns out that teleportation camera landed right on Captain Jack's submarine. Jack was so pissed off that he stuffed Seven and the chicken into a cannon and blasted them right back to Chicken Island. What a way to travel! They were about to strip King Dike's armor for scrap metal, but Daibao stops them, deciding it's finally time to end the feud once and for all. He looks pretty cool standing there in the sunlight, doesn't he? Daibao lets Seven patch him up but refuses to see the miracle doctor. He's a bit embarrassed, wondering if Seven heard all that sentimental stuff he said earlier. Seven tells him that even though his past self was apparently cooler and way more handsome, he loves the life he has now much more. He even thanks Daibao for saving him all those years ago. Then, that old man who gave Seven the manual shows up for another free haircut, claiming he wants to teach Seven how to master his inner chi for real this time. Just as the old man is acting like a legendary grandmaster, he gets hit by a stray dart. It's actually a challenge letter for Seven inviting him to the beach. Seven is already on cloud 9, imagining a romantic future with Meihua and a house full of kids. He completely ignores the old man, who's fainting from blood loss and rushes to the beach early to prepare. He buys a bouquet of roses, determined to finally end his single life. He even borrows a sharp suit from a rival barbershop just to look his best, and maybe to settle a small personal grudge while he's at it. As night falls and the moon rises, some romantic music starts playing, and Seven shows up looking suave, even showing off a bit of smooth English to impress her. He thinks he's looking good, and Meihua looks absolutely stunning tonight, until she suddenly stabs him in the back. It turns out it wasn't Meihua at all, but 11 in disguise. Seven is shocked and tries to fight back, but that blade was coated in a powerful hallucinogen that starts making his head spin immediately. This date just took a very dark turn. While Seven is tripping out, Dashuan arrives. 11 tries to lie and say they're just on a date, but Dashuan is too stubborn to leave. He insists on staying because there have been rumors of assassins in the area, and he's determined to protect everyone while he watches the movie. 11 is absolutely fuming, but she can't get rid of him. 11 realizes Dashuan is also on the bounty list, so she decides to take him out right then and there. But Dashuan's indestructible virgin body is no joke. They start trading heavy blows while Seven is just lying there watching the whole thing thinking it's the most amazing show he's ever seen. He's so high on poison he thinks he's in another dimension. Seven is barely holding on to reality, but he realizes Dashuan is in serious trouble. He tries to pull out a weapon, but he's only carrying his barber tools. To snap himself out of the hallucinations, he pulls out his barbering manual, hoping that focusing on his craft will clear his mind before it's too late. In his altered state, Seven actually discovers a secret martial art hidden within the pages of that manual. It's like he suddenly became a genius scientist, uncovering the secrets of the universe. This sudden realization allows him to flush the poison from his system and launch a counterattack to save Dashuan. Talk about a lucky break. His scissor control is sharper than ever, forcing 11 to retreat for the night. But she runs right into Chairman Jingong of the Purity Association, who is offended by 11's revealing outfit. When she realizes 11 is an assassin, John decides to finish her off right then and there. 11 is really having a rough night. Plum Blossom, 13 arrived just in time to rescue the chief. Upon seeing her, 7 couldn't miss the chance to play music and serenade her. His romantic gestures today evoke sweet memories for 13, leaving her deeply moved. She thinks it's incredibly romantic that he's doing this even while he's injured. She accepts the flower, but then she suddenly strips him naked as revenge before walking away. Those two sisters have a lot of history. Apparently they're at odds because Mei Hua saved their younger brother from 11 in the past. 11 has a deep grudge against her entire clan, while Mei Hua is determined to defeat their father with her own hands. But before they can finish their talk, 11 is suddenly blasted away by a mysterious attacker. Even Mei Hua is no match for this new threat, and she drops her precious flower in the chaos. A massive, muscular man is wandering through a snowy wasteland. He starts poking a monster just because he wants to turn its hide into a fur coat. The monster attacks, but is completely outclassed. This guy, the Steel Hand Dragon King, just snaps its teeth and finishes it off without breaking a sweat. He's a total beast. He eventually crosses paths with Mei Hua's master, Qing Feng. A fight breaks out, but even the Dragon King is no match for him. We see a flashback to when a young Mei Hua first started following Qing Feng, begging to be his student. Qing Feng is easily one of the most powerful people alive, taking down enemies with terrifying efficiency. Mei Hua eventually earned her spot as his student, and we see them waiting in the freezing wind for a messenger from the Shadow Assassin leader. Qing Feng joined that elite group of assassins when he was just 21 years old, proving he was a prodigy from the very beginning. Just a year later, a 15-year-old Seven also became one of the 7 legendary Shadow Assassins. Being put on the same level as the veterans right away definitely rubs some people the wrong way. One guy with beastly teeth decides to pick a fight, even though Seven isn't interested in fighting outside of his missions. That beast-toothed guy lunges at him, but Seven holds his own perfectly without even drawing his sword. His skills are already on a completely different level. But once the weapons come out, things get bloody fast. Seven's blade manages to land a solid hit on his opponent, Redtooth. But Redtooth took that hit on purpose just to get close enough to sink his teeth into Seven's shoulder. Luckily, Seven's reflexes are even faster than Qing Feng's, allowing him to react instantly. Redtooth transforms into a demonic, lizard-like creature and starts darting around with incredible speed to finish Seven off. He circles behind Seven for a lethal strike, but Qing Feng steps in to stop the fight, reminding them that Shadow Assassins aren't allowed to kill each other. Redtooth retreats with a threat, but Qing Feng tells Seven that if he had a better weapon, he would have won easily. He mentions a legendary blade, the Thousand Demon Dagger. That blade is said to be guarded by a 1,000-year-old demon, but Seven isn't afraid at all. He goes looking for Redtooth, who turns out to be Chairman Jiang's former junior. They were both kicked out of the Sky Lotus sect back in the day. As soon as they meet, they start tearing the place apart in a brutal brawl. The entire house is reduced to rubble. Redtooth isn't the weak junior he used to be, and he knocks Chairman Jiang back with ease. They clash with incredible power, but in the end, Chairman Jiang just can't keep up with him. She gets knocked to the ground, defeated. With her last bit of strength, she tells everyone to run. Even the best weapons on the island are like toys to Redtooth now. When Seven sees him, more of his old memories start to resurface. Redtooth is demanding that Jiang break the seal on his power, and when she refuses, he loses it. He tries to bite her, but ends up biting Dashuan's indestructible leg instead. Seizing the opportunity, Seven literally picks up Dashuan and starts using him like a giant sword to fight Redtooth. It's absolutely ridiculous, but it actually works. He even manages to get the upper hand for a moment. I can't believe he's actually doing that. But Dashuan's defense isn't quite at its peak yet, and Redtooth finds a weak spot and bites him. Seven immediately launches his scissors, but Redtooth swats them away like flies. Even when Seven splits the blades for a multi-directional attack, Redtooth's demonic aura is just too thick to penetrate. He's effortlessly blocking everything Seven throws at him. Red Tooth is powering up into a full-on blood demon. Chairman Jaeon realizes the only way to stop him is a secret Sky Lotus technique that requires a kiss from a handsome man. Seven is loyal to Meihua and definitely doesn't want to do it, but with Red Tooth about to kill them all, he gets forcibly kissed by Zhang. There goes his purity. Red Tooth lunges in, but Qingfeng is watching from the shadows. He knows Meihua spared Seven because she felt like she owed him, so he decides he'll settle that debt himself by killing Seven later. Meanwhile, the kiss worked. Zhang transforms into a beautiful young version of herself and starts absolutely pummeling Red Tooth. She completely dominates the fight and knocks him back to his human form with a massive energy blast. We see their backstory. They were once disciples in the same sect and actually loved each other. But Hulian, Zhang, had to reject him because the sect's rules strictly forbid any romantic relationships. She was destined to lead the sect instead. Broken-hearted, Red Tooth went rogue, stole a forbidden demonic technique, and came back to slaughter his own sect. He was eventually overwhelmed by the numbers, but Huilian couldn't bring herself to let him die. Even though her master ordered his execution, she stepped in to save him. It's a tragic story of forbidden love gone horribly wrong. She tried to heal him because she still loved him, even though everyone else was shocked by her choice. But Red Tooth was too consumed by bitterness to be grateful. He tried to attack her again, but her Sky Lotus technique is the natural enemy of his blood demon power. She managed to partially purify his dark energy. She wanted to strip him of his demonic power for his own good, but he fought back like a cornered animal. In the end, Yulian's heart softened, and she spared his life, begging him to give up the dark arts. She even offered to share her own pure chi with him, but Red Tooth was too far gone to listen. To Red Tooth, the sect's pure rules were the real evil because they tried to suppress human emotions. He suddenly lunges at Dashuen and the others. Wulian tries to stop him, but she's out of practice and her energy runs out too quickly. Red Tooth just brushes her aside and continues his rampage. He manages to wound Seven and sink his teeth in for a nasty bite. Meihua wants to intervene, but her master strictly forbids it. Little Flying Chicken can't stand to see Seven get hurt and tries to punch Red Tooth, but Red Tooth has absorbed so much energy from Seven that he's now stronger than ever. The little guy's punch didn't even leave a scratch. Red Tooth ruthlessly takes out the little bird and then proceeds to beat Dai Bao into the ground. Seven watches his friend suffering, and his eyes begin to glow red again. He's torn between the peaceful life he loves and the cold-blooded assassin he used to be. But he knows he can't just sit by while his friends are being killed. He collapsed because of his new emotions, but now he has to rise up because of those same feelings. Red Tooth senses a terrifying bloodlust coming from Seven and actually flinches. He realizes Seven is becoming dangerous again and decides to end it. But Qingfeng suddenly appears and hands Seven the 1000-demon dagger. A barrier is set up so the shadow assassins can settle their business. Seven takes the legendary blade and combines it with his scissor techniques for a non-stop assault. The two of them are clashing with incredible speed and power, like a deadly dance. Seven is pushing himself to the limit, but even with the daggers, Red Tooth is proving extremely hard to put down. Red Tooth actually manages to disarm him because Seven isn't using the blade correctly yet. In the struggle, his barbering book falls out, and Seven realizes it's actually a high-level manual from a legendary sect in Xuanwu. He yells out that he's not the world's best assassin, he's the world's best hairstylist. He puts everything into a massive scissor attack that deals insane damage. Red Tooth tries to block with his demon aura, and the resulting explosion literally shakes the earth. Red Tooth is left bleeding and broken, but Seven has completely exhausted his energy. Red Tooth tries to crawl toward him for one last bite to recover. Before he can reach Seven, Qingfeng steps in and delivers a fatal strike, finishing Red Tooth once and for all. Qingfeng warns Seven that the Shadow Leader will only send more assassins to the island now. If Seven wants to protect the people he loves, he has no choice but to get even stronger. He's got no time for a break. Seven goes back to his normal life for a while, hanging out with Coca-Cola and nursing his friends back to health. He's back to selling beef stew to pay off his debts too. But eventually, he knows what he has to do. He decides to head back to Xuanwu, leaving Meihua standing there on the beach before they could ever truly say how they felt. The legendary Scissor Assassin is back for Part 3, and things are about to get even crazier. Word of Red Tooth's death and the humble barber who did it has spread all over Xuanwu. The Shadow Assassin organization feels insulted and is sending a wave of killers to Chicken Island to wipe everyone out as a warning. It's about to be a total bloodbath, but Seven isn't a pushover anymore. One assassin tries a sneaky hit and run, but Seven isn't falling for it. There are just too many of them, though. As night falls, Seven tries to prevent a massacre and runs into a deadly assassin with a poison-spitting ability. He's really got his work cut out for him tonight. The poison attacks are nonstop, and Seven has to scramble just to stay alive. He's dodging left and right, but eventually finds an opening to throw his scissors for a distraction. He closes the distance, disarms his opponent, and gives him a solid beatdown. He's becoming the island's silent guardian, but it's taking a toll on him. Qingfeng was right if Seven wants the island to truly be safe, he has to leave. He's a cursed assassin who brings death wherever he goes. Staying there just puts his friends in the crosshairs. He realizes that holding on to his peaceful life here is only going to get everyone killed. He has to go back. He's heading for the eagle statue in Xuanwu, where Qingfeng promised to help him recover all his memories. Meihua is forbidden from seeing him now because they're officially on opposite sides. Seven goes around to say a quiet goodbye to everyone on the island, puts on his old assassin outfit, and prepares for the journey ahead. With the Thousand Demon dagger in hand, he announces his return to Xuanwu to all the assassins. The orders for the hit on Chicken Island are suddenly cancelled, and a new directive is issued. Kill Seven at any cost. Every assassin is now gunning for him, and they won't stop until he's dead. The stakes are officially as high as they can get. In the heart of Xuanwu, the most powerful people sense a dark omen approaching. Meanwhile, a wounded Seven is on the run, being pelted with relentless attacks from an assassin using high-speed projectiles. He's dodging like a pro, but he's being herded into a trap. And he's not just facing one opponent, there's more of them waiting in the shadows. Another assassin dressed like a street performer joins the fray, along with a master archer who rains down arrows from above. Seven is hit and collapses in pain. Just as the performer is about to deliver the finishing blow, everything goes black. Luckily, it turns out that whole nightmare was just a dream Dai Bao was having. Dai Bao wakes up in a cold sweat and immediately goes to find Little Flying Chicken. They find a wanted poster for Seven, and realize he's actually headed back to Xuanwu for real. When Dai Bao gets back to the shop and sees Seven's old gear is gone, it all starts to click into place. He knows exactly what his friend is planning. Dai Bao remembers back when he first recruited Seven. Seven used to complain nonstop about having to work as a lowly beef stew seller while Dai Bao lived it up. That cheeky bird. One day, they spotted the miracle doctor who's really just a vet, and noticed he had some diamonds. Naturally, Dai Bao's greedy side started coming out. He hatched a plan to rob the guy, pretending he was poisoned to get inside. He forced Seven to do the dirty work while he sat back and puffed on a cigar. Seven blew some sleeping gas into the shop to knock the doctor out and started rummaging for the medicine, but he accidentally triggered a hidden trap door and fell right into a pit. Seven gets caught in another trap and ends up in a secret underground tunnel. An ID scanner starts checking him, and since he obviously isn't the doctor, the security system goes into lockdown. The only way out is to match a complex prescription displayed on a screen. Seven's been watching way too much TV because he actually tries to solve it using his memory. He fails a bunch of times but eventually gets lucky and escapes. He thinks he's safe, but then he runs into an even tougher trap, mechanical fist that hit like Mike Tyson. He's spitting blood after that beating. But Seven is nothing if not a quick learner, and he starts using his agility to weave through the rest of the defenses like a pro. He finally makes it to the vet, while Dai Bao is outside getting impatient. Dai Bao thinks Seven found the diamonds and is keeping them for himself, so he rushes in only to get caught in the exact same traps. Meanwhile, Seven realizes the vet is actually wearing a mask. Who is this guy, really? Dai Bao luckily lands right on top of Seven. Dai Bao immediately tells Seven to hurry up with the robbery. What a great friend, right? Seven gets knocked out again. And then the doctor triggers a flamethrower that almost roasts Seven alive. Dai Bao tells him they should just bail, but Seven is determined to get that antidote for his buddy, no matter how stupid it is. Dai Bao actually leaves Seven behind and runs for it at first. But once he's safe, he starts feeling guilty and goes back to take the beating with his friend. He tells Seven they should just pay for the medicine instead of stealing it. But when he sees Seven being bullied by the traps, he can't just stand by and watch his friend get hurt like that. Seven is dodging fireballs and lasers like it's nothing. He charges straight toward the doctor's ultimate weapon and uses his scissors to knock the remote control out of his hand. Dai Bao thinks they finally hit the jackpot, but stealing never ends well in the long run. There's always one last trick up the sleeve. The final defense system kicks in and gives Seven a massive walloping, ending their failed heist. After telling this story to Little Flying Chicken, Dai Bao sets sail to go help his old partner. Meanwhile, Seven is still up to his usual weirdness, using transformation eggs to turn into a fish just so he can catch other fish for dinner. Talk about an identity crisis. He almost gets eaten by a bigger fish, but he uses his scissors to turn it into sushi instead. He's scarfing it down when he finally reaches, well, not quite Xuanwu. He was using his 5,000 RPM scissor motor to power his raft, but it looks like his navigation skills are just as bad as his memory. This definitely isn't the right place. He's actually landed in the land of women because he had the wrong map. He thinks he's in paradise when a bunch of beautiful ladies offer him some coconut water, but as soon as he drinks it, he starts feeling dizzy. Those beauties reveal their true forms as spider demons, and Seven passes out cold. Talk about a bad first impression. He has a nightmare about an incredibly ugly Mei Hua and wakes up in a panic. It turns out he's been locked up with another guy named Mei Tai. This country doesn't actually have a magical pregnancy river. They just spread rumors of beautiful women to lure in lonely men to use as, well, breeding stock, so their kids aren't as ugly as they are. Yikes. Seven insists he's loyal to Mei Hua, but the queen gives him an ultimatum. Either become a permanent resident or go assassinate the Appearance King to break the curse that's made everyone here look like bears. The king appears and promises Seven that if he succeeds, he can marry the most beautiful girl in the land. Which isn't saying much. That Appearance King has a weird ability to make everyone look exactly like him, which is why everyone is so desperate. Seven is pretty grossed out, but he figures that if he and Mei Tai team up, they might have a shot at winning. It's a long shot, but what choice does he have? They're hoping Mei Tai's guitar skills will help, but his instrument got washed away by the waves. Honestly, whoever said, looks don't matter in love clearly never visited this place. Seven's more determined than ever to take down the Appearance King, mostly because he's terrified of what might happen if he fails. 2 days later, some new arrivals show up. Seven was hoping for some heavy hitters, but it's just Dai Bao and Little Flying Chicken, who also got lured here by the promise of girls. But Dai Bao is a clever bird. He uses a transformation egg to turn himself into a guitar so they can finally use Mei Tai's music against the king. They sneak into the palace and find the Appearance King, who looks like a total wannabe cool kid but is actually hideous. Seven lunges in to attack, but the king fires a laser from his glasses. Seven dodges it easily, but Mei Tai isn't so lucky. The king's power is no joke when it actually hits you. Anyone who gets hit by that beam falls under the king's control, which is why nobody's ever managed to beat him. Controlled Mei Tai starts tying Seven up, forcing him to dodge lasers while also fending off his own ally. It's a total mess, but then Dai Bao manages to swoop in and shatter the king's glasses with a well-placed shot. Seven yells for Dai Bao to untie him, but Dai Bao is a bit too enthusiastic with his shooting and almost hits Seven too. The king loses it when his glasses break and pulls out a giant orb for a final attack. It turns out his whole power comes from people seeing their own reflection in his gear. If he can't get you to look at him, he's got nothing. Seven stops him with some monkey-style kung fu before he can unleash his ultimate move. He gives Mei Tai a good smack to wake him up from the trance, and it works. Mei Tai grabs the Dai Bao guitar and starts playing a soulful melody that brings the king to his knees. It's a literal battle of the bands now. The king starts sobbing as the music reminds him of his ex-girlfriend. He used to only send photos from the neck down while wearing expensive clothes to trick her into a date, but as soon as they met in person, she dumped him because of his face. The music is literally breaking his heart by forcing him to remember all that rejection. He's crying a river, and Seven of the gang take the chance to demand the secret to breaking the spell. It turns out the cure is simple. A kiss of true love will turn everyone back to normal. It's kind of sad that nobody in this whole country managed to find that in all these years. Is true love really that hard to come by? Seven sees a few pretty faces and briefly considers just staying there forever, but those dreams are quickly crushed. They're given a tiny, pathetic raft and sent on their way. Mei Tai actually decides to stay behind to teach the king how to sing, hoping it'll help him find someone who loves him for more than just his looks. He wants to help the king become a singer and maybe turn his life around. Meanwhile, back on Chicken Island, Mei Hua is waiting on the beach for Seven after sending him a letter, but he never shows up. Instead, her sister 11 arrives and starts teasing her for being so sentimental. 11 is definitely not the romantic type. 11 is actually staying on the island because she's trying to seduce a certain someone. She's a rogue from the Flying Bird sect who stole their secret techniques and fled. The guy she's after is none other than Da Xuan, but he's so oblivious that he thinks her flirting is actually her trying to attack him. Man, this guy is a brick wall. She even tries to hire him as a bodyguard with a fat stack of cash, but he just tells her she's a bad person and refuses to play along. 11 is stunning and talented, so being rejected like this is a huge blow to her ego. She doesn't give up, though, and starts telling him a sob story about her family being kidnapped to win him over. She begs him to save her and help her find her family. Dashwin actually picks up the money, but he just hands it back and says he'll only take a tiny fee to help. He's going to risk his life for her anyway. It just goes to show that even the most serious guys can't help but fall for a pretty face eventually, even if they're being lied to. 11 is actually heading for the Maihua Manor in Chuanwu, where her own clan treats her like a traitor. On the way, Dashan takes his bodyguard duties super seriously, even testing her food for poison like he's in some epic wuxia movie. 11 doesn't really care about him, though. She's just using him for her own ends. He's so over the top that he even challenges strangers just to show off his indestructible body. It's working though, nobody can leave a scratch on him, but the Flying Bird sect is already on their trail. 11 leaves Dashiwan to deal with them while she makes a break for it, but she quickly finds herself cornered. Her 7 former sect brothers chase her down and manage to wound and capture her. Dashiwan is worried, but he's surrounded by enemies. He channels his inner 7, transforming into a human sword to slice through his chains and take down a massive opponent. He's determined to find out where they've taken 11. He finds 11 being forced to kneel by her old brothers. It turns out the manual she stole was actually given to her by the eldest brother, who's now acting like a total creep because she rejected him. Just as he's about to kill her for insulting him, Dashiwan makes a heroic entrance and takes down one of the thugs instantly. Now that's what I call a rescue. Seeing 11 so badly hurt just fires Dashiwan up. He powers up his indestructible body, and those guys spend the entire night punching him without doing any damage. They keep hitting him until sunrise until they're completely exhausted and questioning their entire existence. 11 watches him and is reminded of her own cold, distant father. She never wanted to be a fighter. She just wanted her dad to protect her. But he was a cold-hearted man who turned her into the assassin she is now. Meanwhile, Dashiwan has literally driven those guys insane with his impenetrable defense. He takes them all down, but the eldest brother still has one more trick up his sleeve. Dashiwan is finally out of energy and can't use his skills anymore. The eldest brother grows a pair of wings and starts diving in to slash him over and over, but in a desperate move, Dashiwan grabs his leg and refuses to let go. The brother flies high into the air, trying to shake him off like some kind of crazy stunt pilot. Dashiwan doesn't care about the altitude, he just puts the guy in a wrestling lock and drives him straight into the ground. 11 hands the stolen manual back and asks Dashiwan if he actually believes her story. Of course he does. He's successfully taken down an entire sect just to protect her, looking like a total legend in the process. He admits he learned all his cool moves from movies. When 11 asks him for a romantic hug to celebrate the rescue, he actually refuses because it would go against his bodyguard code. Can you believe this guy? But for some reason, that just makes her like him even more. They sit down and actually start having a real conversation for once. The problem is, Dashiwan has zero game and just keeps talking about the philosophy of bodyguarding. That's a one-way ticket to the friend zone, buddy. Meanwhile, 7 and his group arrive at Stone Fist Country, where literally everyone is a hardcore bodybuilder. It's like a whole nation of guys who look just like Dashiwan. They're just looking for a snack. But all the shops sell is protein shakes and grilled chicken. Daibao is not happy about the chicken being on the menu and starts talking smack about how muscles are just for show. He immediately gets in trouble when a massive coach who looks like a buff Superman appears, demanding to know who was talking trash. Now, our boy 7 is a genuinely good guy and incredibly honest, especially when compared to Daibao. However, he's just no match for that slick chicken's schemes. That bird is playing it cool, pretending to be a silent victim just to force 7 into a match to clear his debts. The fight kicks off before 7 even realizes what's happening, and he immediately tries to throw the game. But there's a catch. If he loses, he's dragging Daibao down with him. The stakes are terrifying because poor Shafei is about to be turned into dinner. Apparently, green-feathered chickens are packed with high protein, making them quite the delicacy. With friends like these, who needs enemies? 7 demands to know what the prize is if he actually fights. Maybe a luxury cruise ticket to the Xuanwu Kingdom. But wait, the prize this Superman character puts on the line is something far more bizarre. It turns out his great treasure is enough to leave 7 dazed in just a few seconds. Word on the street is that this guy's backside is actually worth a fortune. The first round of the match involves phase shifting through walls, starting with wood and moving up to iron. As the difficulty ramps up, 7 tries to get a head start by frantically digging a hole to crawl through, while his opponent takes a very different approach. Over on the other side, Superman is going full throttle, charging ahead at a breakneck speed that nothing can stop. 7 tries to copy him like a fool, but he only ends up with cracked bones and bruised skin. He wants to use his telekinetic scissors, but that's a total violation of the rules. While his opponent breezes through the obstacles, 7 is literally trying to bite his way through the walls. Yet he still can't pass the first hurdle. He ends up collapsing in total despair before even finishing the qualifiers. Round 2 is that classic street performer trick smashing a rock on your chest, but this version is abnormally intense. A literal meteorite comes crashing down, making 7 cry out for his mother before he passes out. He almost gets assaulted while unconscious too. Meanwhile, that other guy's pectoral muscles are so insane that he actually manages to shatter the massive boulder. It's honestly terrifying how he just pulverized that rock to win. The next round is a straight-up brawl, last man standing wins. In a best-of-5 series, Superman is close to taking the whole thing. Seven suddenly remembers Daxuan bragging about the diamond indestructible technique and tries to act tough to save face. Unfortunately, he completely forgot that he is currently standing in the very place where that technique originated. This is where Daxuan's people live, and every single person here is a master of that art. They can practically light up a stadium with their golden glow, or use it to smash your face in. Seven tries to drop Daxuan's name, hoping to make some friends, and survive the day. As it turns out, this really is Daxuan's hometown. But there's a dark history. Daxuan was actually driven away years ago by none other than Superman. The reason? They thought he was weak, scrawny, and dim-witted, the perfect target for bullying. For a kind soul like Daxuan to be treated that way proves these people are rotten to the core. Hearing this makes Seven's blood boil. He declares that even though he fought Daxuan for a whole day, against a guy like this Superman, he only needs one single strike to settle the score. The big guy is arrogant, saying if Seven pulls it off, he wins the whole tournament. Well, get ready to lose, pal. Even without his scissors, Seven charges forward and thrusts a finger directly at the weak point of the diamond indestructible form. He might have just broken his own finger doing it, but he followed the manual exactly as shown before. There's no way he missed the target. The technique works perfectly, and Superman deflates like a leaking balloon. Seeing their poster boy get his face smashed in and turned into a flabby mess leaves the entire crowd in shock. It's honestly a bit pathetic. Desperate to regain his pride, the guy quickly pumps some iron to restore his physique and lunges forward to deliver a massive punch. To everyone's horror, Seven doesn't even bother to dodge. The impact pulverizes the entire arena behind him, but Seven doesn't even flinch. He coldly remarks that Daxuan's punches are way more powerful than this weak stuff. He tells them Daxuan works harder than anyone, is more diligent than anyone, and he's certainly not stupid. He's actually a genius in his own right. Daxuan has a special kind of talent, the talent of pure, unyielding hard work, and sooner or later he's going to surpass everyone in this room. Seven then sends his scissors flying, forcing Superman back. Realizing he's been beat, the guy finally humbles himself, acknowledges Daxuan's strength, and accepts his defeat. Seven stands there looking incredibly cool in front of everyone. After his stylish victory, the locals provide the map to the Schwanwu Kingdom as promised. Superman even hands over his great treasure. Thankfully, it wasn't anything gross. It's actually a high-speed muscle-dissolving medicine that's worth a fortune. He whispers to Seven, asking him to pass on a sincere apology to Daxuan. It's a nice change of heart, honestly. Even from a distance, Seven can feel the sincerity. Shortly after, the gang finds themselves lost in a bizarre land filled with trees that look like creepy, haunted eyes. Following the old saying, when in Rome, their bodies start reacting to the weird environment. Daibo suddenly hits a growth spurt while Seven starts ballooning up like a giant pig. Daibo is the first to notice something. Daibo spots the culprit behind their physical distortions, but Seven is so chubby and sluggish he can barely move. Suddenly, they are both lifted into the air by an invisible force. It's Binning, a powerful psychic who can manipulate and deform objects at will. He demands to know what they're doing in the divergent state. If they're assassins, they're getting a one-way trip to the bottom of the lake. Soblier plays it smart and claims he's just a simple barber. But when he's asked to actually give a haircut, he lacks any professional tact and tries to overcharge them. Faced with Binneon's overwhelming power, they have no choice but to do it for free. But hey, you get what you pay for. Just look at the disaster he left on that kid's head. Now, the gang is back on the hunt for information. While asking for directions to the Schwanwu Kingdom, they hear rumors about a strange beggar who supposedly came from there. When they track him down, it turns out to be Landman Hoa, the guy who's been getting free haircuts from Seven. Remembering the secret manual the old man gave him, Seven realizes he's a true master and respectfully asks for the way to Schwanwu. Landman Hoa seems pretty bored with the place and offers to show Seven a tunnel he dug, but only in exchange for a fresh trim. Before Seven can even pick up his scissors, Bin-An suddenly kicks him out of the way. The people of Stan have arrived, and the citizens of the Divergent State look absolutely terrified. It's about to get real. While everyone else is shaking, Landman Hoa is a total boss and doesn't care one bit. Suddenly, Kola and the Prince of Stan descend, leaving Seven completely stunned. Bin-An launches a surprise attack, targeting even Kola. Because he believes no one from Stan can be trusted, he completely ignores Seven's attempts to stop him and stays focused on his assault. Bin-An and his two friends launch a coordinated strike, but the Prince of Stan is as tough as an ox. He throws up a shield and then literally transforms into an Iron Man-style suit. He quickly reaches his two friends, punches Bin-An into the air, and proceeds to give him a brutal beatdown. He slams all three of them into the ground without breaking a sweat. Just as the prince is about to finish them off, Cola steps in to stop him. Interestingly, Bin An's powers didn't even affect her. The secret: she's actually part divergent herself, having been taken away for experiments long ago. Now that the truth is out, Bin An is more determined than ever to protect Cola from the clutches of these villains. As usual, Seven and Dai Bo show up just as the drama is peaking. Bin An explains his hatred. Every year, Stan comes and kidnaps his people for horrific experiments. Most of them never return, and the few that do are usually broken or half dead. It's a tragedy that has left a deep scar on their entire nation. Who wouldn't be filled with resentment? Cola is absolutely fuming hearing this. But the Prince of Stan remains cold, arguing that these experiments are for the advancement of humanity. He claims that sacrifice is necessary for the greater good, even pointing out that his own people have sacrificed themselves for the cause. Talk about a twisted perspective. Seven can't stand the prince's slippery logic any longer and tells him to shove it. He calls the prince out for kidnapping children, but when he tries to sound heroic, Cola gives him a solid punch to the face. She proudly reveals that she was the one who used her powers to kidnap the prince and bring him here in the first place. She's definitely not a damsel in distress. The prince doesn't care about the details anymore. He just wants revenge on Seven. He draws his laser sword and goes on a wild rampage, determined to prove that Seven's previous victory was nothing but luck. The young Divergent kids don't hesitate and immediately rush in to help Seven out. The prince has returned stronger than ever and nearly sends one of the kids to the afterlife. In the chaos, Lan Menhoa's chicken leg gets stolen. Binin then transforms into a massive giant, intending to crush the prince under his weight, but since the prince can fly, it's not going to be that easy. Seven joins the fray and tells Bin An to use his plant powers to lift him up so he can fight the prince head-on. He's wielding his scissors with incredible bravery. Bin An's roots try to snag the prince, who blasts them away with his laser sword. But then, suddenly, some very strange bare-faced plants appear on the scene. The plants swell up and trap the prince, but it's actually just a diversion. It gives Seven's flying scissors the perfect opening. Bin An works with Seven to turn the scissors into a binding rope, tying the prince up tight. With their enemy neutralized, the other two kids swoop in to deliver a final, explosive blow. Even after that blast, the Prince of Stan is still alive. He unleashes a disruptive wave that messes with the kids' powers, causing them to attack wildly and lose control. He's about to land a finishing blow when something unexpected happens. The attack is deflected. However, Cola is caught in the crossfire, which sends the prince into a total panic. The prince tries to change the trajectory, but Cola is still hit hard, coughing up blood and being thrown back. This drives the prince into a murderous rage as he prepares to go all out in revenge. Just as things reach a breaking point, Lan Menhoa steps in. He easily blocks the prince even at his maximum combat power, proving that the old beggar is no ordinary man. The old man advises them to focus on saving Cola first. Since the kingdom of Stan is 3,000 kilometers away, the prince is helpless. He hands Cola over to Bin An so she can be taken to the underground city for medical treatment. He warns them, though, if they can't save her, the entire Divergent state is going to pay the price. While Cola is rushed off for help, the prince stays behind, haunted by Bin An's words about the horrific experiments. He starts to wonder, could the kingdom of Stan actually be in the wrong? The next morning, the Divergent doctor brings bad news. Because of her genetic condition, Cola's wounds aren't healing properly. They've managed to stabilize her, but a full recovery requires a legendary medicine called Black Jade Paste from the Shennong state. It's a place known for its miraculous doctors. Seven and the gang realize it would take a month to walk there. To save Cola, the prince decides to head out, but the people of Shennong are known for being incredibly eccentric. The prince's aura is so aggressive that it might make getting the medicine impossible. But wait. Lan Menhoa reveals he actually has 2 kilograms of that medicine just lying around his house. What a total boss. Using the tunnel he dug, they can reach his home in the Swan Wu Kingdom in just 2 hours. The old man is a bit of a shark, though he charges a hefty fee for the trip. He charges $50 a trip and promises to pick them up in 3 hours. It's expensive, but the service is top-notch. Sliding down that tunnel is so exhilarating you'll never want to leave. Suddenly, they spot a handsome young man being chased by enemies. Seven pops up from the ground trying to look like a hero, but it doesn't go quite as planned. Seven accidentally drops his assassin token, and even though he doesn't look the part, it's enough to send the goons running for their lives. Only the leader stays behind, crushing Dai Bo and lunging at Seven. Poor Seven keeps insisting he's just a passerby, but the handsome youth realizes that if he doesn't step in, Seven is going to be sliced in half. The young man steps in, gallantly taking a poison needle meant for Seven. It turns out his martial art is called Like Fist, apparently from spending too much time on social media. It's a good thing it's not the ha-ha fist, or he'd probably just get mocked. Right now, however, his technique is proving to be quite effective against the enemy. He completely dominates the fight, sending the villain crying for his mother. After the win, Daibo asks for directions to Lan Menhoa's place. Poor Shafe is still too injured to fly, so 30 minutes later, Seven is feeling the absolute misery of someone who hasn't exercised in years. He's definitely regretting his life choices right now. Seven vows to start doing more push-ups from now on. The scenery of the Xuanwu Kingdom feels strangely familiar to him, but Daibo isn't interested in nostalgia. He runs off to ask for directions, but he can't help but mock the local sect leader, calling Lan Menhua a beggar and comparing his group to a low-level gang. Talk about being rude. The Tianlong gang of Xuanwu is no joke, they're all elite masters. Even the two guards are enough to give Seven and Daibo a rough time. Daibo tries to be sneaky by turning into a butterfly, but it turns out the guard has a very delicate hobby of catching butterflies. He's caught immediately, and both of them get another round of beating. On their third attempt, the two manage to sneak in and actually find the medicine hidden inside a smelly shoe. But their luck runs out fast, as they're discovered and tied up, ready to be executed. Seven tries his best to resist, but he just ends up getting punished even harder for his efforts. It's looking pretty grim for our heroes. Suddenly, a young man appears and delivers a massive punch right to the leader's head. It's a painful blow that sends the guy reeling. The leader tries to counterattack with everything he has, but he's easily outmatched. His partner jumps in to help, but he's also quickly taken down. However, when these two work together, they unleash a power that's surprisingly strong. Even though their fist style is a bit unconventional, it's more than enough to help Seven and the gang escape. Seven gets his assassin badge back and even promises his savior a free haircut someday. But there's a problem. The young man realizes Seven is actually the same person who killed his master. Talk about an awkward moment. Seven and Daibo make it back to the tunnel, but Seven pulls a fast one and tricks his friends into going back first. He's decided to head off alone to confront the shadow assassin leader, not wanting to put his friends in any more danger. He starts making his way toward Eagle Square, the designated meeting spot. Eagle Square is an isolated place, and Seven arrives without any way to contact Qingfeng. To his surprise, Maihua is already there waiting for him. She's been ordered to take him out and doesn't hesitate to stab him with a high-end weapon. It seems if they can't be lovers, then everything including her assassin training is over. Seven puts on his old assassin outfit just as Qingfeng instructed. When he sees Maihua, he thinks it's fate, but she's just setting a trap. She tricks him and then stabs him again. Coldly, Maihua tells him that there are absolutely no feelings between them and that it was all just a ruse. She's playing a dangerous game with his heart. Maihua turns to leave, repeating to herself that she's a cold-blooded assassin. But when she sees the black jade paste medicine Seven gave her, her heart softens. She can't help but turn back, lying to herself that she's only returning the medicine, but deep down she knows it's more than that. It's a classic internal struggle. When she gets back, she finds Seven casually eating noodles like nothing happened. It turns out the dagger Qingfeng used was a special weapon that dissolves upon contact with blood. Suddenly, a mysterious red bead drops from the sky, flying with lightning speed to Wound 7. It's the start of a whole new attack. The bead keeps changing direction, relentlessly attacking Seven. He's struggling to dodge, so Maihua steps in and slices the bead in half. But wait, it actually splits into two beads and continues the assault even more aggressively. She's being forced back by their sheer power. Thankfully, the beads stop their attack for a moment. The beads return to the prayer necklace of the blind master, a man who can see into the future. He's predicted that Seven is the greatest disaster for the Xuanwu Kingdom and is determined to eliminate him today. He sends the beads out again to surround Seven, who immediately draws his scissors to fight back. Seven's low-tier scissors are no match for those high-level artifacts. He's forced onto the defensive, struggling to dodge the constant attacks. The blind master warns Maihua to stay out of it if she doesn't want to become an enemy of the organization and bring trouble to her own master. It's a tense standoff with everything on the line. Seven is like, what did I even do to deserve this? But the blind master is convinced he's a walking calamity, pointing out that Seven's killing of Shentu 2 years ago already proved his predictions true. He's going all out now, and Seven isn't about to just sit there and let himself be killed. Seven unleashes the same powerful move that wounded Redtooth, and for a moment, they're evenly matched. But then, the poison from Qingfeng's hidden strike suddenly kicks in, causing Seven to cough up blood. The blind master's beads fly in for the kill, and Seven is completely defenseless. But Maihua isn't about to let her man die. She leaps in to stop the attack, even though the blind master warns her again. He's not holding back anymore and launches a lethal strike that Mai Hoa has no hope of blocking. Just when it looks like she's done for, something inside Seven snaps and a dark energy begins to surge through him. His eyes turn blood red like a wild beast, and he lunges at the blind master with his demon blade. The master is forced to pull his beads back to defend himself, creating a massive, earth-shaking explosion. Seven keeps up the pressure, attacking relentlessly. The blind master is powerful, but this berserk version of Seven is on a whole different level. A terrifying shockwave sends Seven flying. That dark blade he's using is designed to make a person lose their mind and become a literal monster. It seems Qing Feng was just using Seven for his own dark plans all along. Now the blind master prepares his ultimate move, causing his beads to swell up and completely blot out the sun. Facing certain death, Seven merges with his blade and charges forward. Even in his mindless state, he notices Mai Hoa is in danger and uses his own body to shield her from the blast. The ground shakes and dust fills the air. The blind master is stunned to see that Seven prioritized saving the girl over his own life. Visions of beauty and monsters dance before Seven's eyes as he struggles to stay conscious. He tells Mai Hoa to run for her life while he holds off the master, eventually finding a way to escape himself. The fact that Seven protected her even while consumed by the beast leaves the blind master completely baffled. The master realizes he might have miscalculated something. Meanwhile, Seven is still being tortured by the dark aura, and his massive surge of power has attracted every assassin in the area. They're all hunting him down while he's poisoned and exhausted. The first assassin catches up with him in no time. The assassin fires a signal flare and starts pelting Seven with rocks, just like in Dai Bo's nightmare. Seven is trapped with nowhere to run. A clown assassin appears next, blocking his scissors and joining the hunt. Then, archers who are lying in wait unleash a literal rain of arrows, wounding Seven even further. The clown tries for a cheap shot, but Seven narrowly avoids it. Then, a blind girl joins the fray, and the combined assault starts landing hit after hit on Seven. Even though he's surrounded, he fights with everything he has to keep the beast inside him at bay. He'd honestly rather die than lose his humanity completely. Who knows how this battle will end? But Seven is severely wounded and just wants to go home to his barbershop on the island. Instead, he's huddled in a strange place all alone. He starts dreaming about the peaceful life he used to have with all his old friends. He remembers the days of playing with water guns, swimming in the blue ocean, and just soaking up the sun without a care in the world. But dreams are just dreams. The poison is slowly eating away at his precious memories, and Seven is desperately trying to hold on to anything he can before it's all gone. Seven wakes up coughing blood, and the assassins are closing in again. He's losing his grip on reality. Mai Hoa has been following him, wondering what her master's real plan is. If the goal was just to kill Seven, they didn't need this elaborate scheme. She remembers how legendary he was becoming a shadow assassin at just 15. By 16, he had claimed the 1,000 demon daggers from an evil spirit, and by 17, he single-handedly assassinated the King of Stan. His reputation terrifies the entire world. Even the guy standing there now, who previously got his butt kicked by Seven, is determined to at least trade one single blow with the legend this time around. Mai Hoa jumps in and takes the guy down herself. Even in his state, Seven still tries to act like a flirt when he sees her. Mai Hoa acts tough and threatens to kill him, but her actions say otherwise as she pulls out the medicine to treat his wounds. She's definitely got a soft spot for him, even if she won't admit it. Unfortunately, that dark poison is incredibly potent. Seven can feel the malevolent energy devouring his mind, erasing his happiest memories. He's starting to forget the faces of people he cared about. Mai Hoa tells him to stop fighting it because it's only causing him more pain. Seven refuses to give up, saying those memories are too important to lose. Mai Hoa thinks you can live a good life without a past, but there are some things, no matter how painful, that you never want to forget. Sometimes it's the smallest, most insignificant things that end up being the most precious. Seven just wants to go back to the island and see Mai Hoa wearing the dress he gave her on the beach. He doesn't even hold a grudge against her for stabbing him. He just wants to talk and forget the pain. Mai Hoa realizes that all of Seven's most cherished memories are from his time on Chicken Island. Dai Bo and Xiao Fei are like family to him, and that island is the one place he truly wants to protect. Mai Hoa feels a pang of sadness because she's lost everything she ever cared about. Seven, being his usual self, cheekily asks if he's the only one she has feelings for now. He gets a solid smack for that. A blushing Mai Hoa insists she's only saving him because her master ordered it. She turns around to find that he's already fast asleep. What a total mood killer. Later that night, Seven suddenly vanishes without saying a single word. The poison is flaring up again, and Seven doesn't want to risk hurting Mai Hoa. Qing Feng notes that Seven has resisted the Dark Blade's influence longer than anyone he's ever seen, but escaping it entirely is nearly impossible. Meanwhile, Mai Hoa's past is a nightmare. Her father was an absolute monster who only knew how to use violence. He beat her constantly and showed her zero love. After her mother died, Xingfeng was the only one who showed her any kindness. She turned all that pain into strength. Mai Hoa wakes up from a tearful dream to find Seven gone. At that very moment, he's actually being brutally beaten by someone else. He's lost all his gear and is being treated like a punching bag. Mei Hoa senses the enemy's energy and rushes to help. The opponent is Shimin, one of the 7 shadow assassins, so it's no wonder Seven is getting crushed. When Mai Hoa arrives, she unfortunately ends up getting captured as well. She tries to fight back, but she's completely overpowered. Another assassin, Fei Qi, reveals her obsession with Seven. She tells the story of how he once took on the entire assassin world for a single woman, which was incredibly heroic. But Fei Qi is just bitter. It wasn't her. She actually killed that woman after Seven disappeared. She is the definition of, if I can't have him, no one can. She's about to finish Seven off, but Mai Hoa steps in. Fei Qi recognizes Mai Hoa's technique as Qingfeng's. Apparently, she once had a thing for Qingfeng too, but he only ever broke hearts. Now, Fei Qi has moved on to a new partner, Blackbird. Seven tries to be the typical hero and tells Mai Hoa to leave him behind. But she's not having any of it. She tells him to shut up because she's decided to protect him today, no matter what. She even complains that the swimsuit he gave her was hideous, but she can't stop thinking about their beach date if they survive the day. She even bought a white dress for the occasion. Suddenly, Blackbird attacks. He's on a completely different level, moving like a ghost and quickly overpowering Mei Hoa. Seven is forced to watch helplessly as she struggles against the assassin's supernatural speed. Seven tries to call the scissors, but the poison paralyzes him. Mei Hoa manages to break free for a moment, but Blackbird transforms into a literal wraith, attacking from the shadows with terrifying speed. She's being systematically wounded, unable to even see her attacker in the dark. The fight is completely one-sided, and Mai Hoa is taking a serious beating. She tries to find an escape route, but Blackbird reveals he's from the Flying Bird sect. He can literally cut off her escape in midair. The Flying Bird sect is known for their incredible aerial combat skills. The sect used to be split between the black and white factions led by 2 powerful masters, but internal conflict tore them apart. Blackbird lost and became an assassin, while Whitebird was left severely injured. Most of the disciples left, leaving the once great sect in ruins. Now the sect is just a shadow of its former self. The Blackbird techniques are incredibly powerful but have a dark cost, which is why Mai Hoa gave up the manual so easily. Back in the present, Blackbird lands a massive blow that sends Mai Hoa and the others crashing down, all of them severely injured. Mai Hoa remembers why she started training to protect her mother. Her father refused to teach her because she was too weak. Her mother's death left a hole in her heart that she's determined never to feel again. She pushes through the pain and keeps fighting, which only seems to entertain Blackbird even more. Is enjoying this way too much. Mei Hoa tries a new tactic, even standing on her flying blade to gain an advantage. But Blackbird is a grandmaster for a reason. He unleashes a wave of pure internal energy, sending out lethal blades of light that leave Mai Hoa covered in wounds. While Mai Hoa is being torn apart, Seven is trapped in his own mind, remembering the girl who changed him. For her, he went from a cold-blooded killer to someone who would risk everything. Now, he sees Mai Hoa doing the exact same thing for him, risking her life without hesitation. She's fighting to live without regrets. With sheer willpower, she actually manages to wound Blackbird, but here's the shocker: she's not using her old sword. She summoned the 1,000 demon daggers. It's like her heart and Seven's are finally beating as one. Can they actually pull off a win? Stay tuned for part 4. Welcome back to Scissor 7 Season 4. Previously, Mei Hoa managed to seriously wound Blackbird with Seven's help, allowing her to temporarily wield the legendary 1,000 demon daggers. It was an incredible moment of teamwork, but the battle is far from over. That sword is a legendary weapon with 1,000 shards, capable of infinite forms. However, Seven is completely spent after so many back-to-back fights. He's running on fumes and can't help her anymore. To make matters worse, Mei Hoa's strike didn't seem to do enough damage to finish Blackbird off. The assassin is back on his feet and grabs her from behind. He mocks her, asking if she really thought a single strike could kill him. He's not just alive. He's planning to use Mai Hoa as bait to see what other tricks the world's greatest assassin still has up his sleeve. It's a desperate situation for Seven. On top of everything, Black Widow is watching from the sidelines like a hungry wolf. She's actually quite jealous that Seven is risking everything for another woman. She's just as toxic and dangerous as her name suggests. Seven makes his move, launching a direct attack, but Blackbird blocks it easily. mocking him by saying his blade isn't as fast as the legends claim. He sounds disappointed, but Seven has a trick up his sleeve. He begins channeling his inner energy directly into the 1,000 demon daggers. The blade shards fly out, slicing Blackbird's wrist, and forcing him to let go of Mai Hoa. But that was exactly what the assassin wanted. He lured Seven in close. Suddenly, a surge of dark energy begins to gather inside Blackbird's corpse-like body. Seven uses some quick footwork to dodge a lethal blast of darkness at the last second. But he's in trouble. They're in the air now, and that's Blackbird's home turf. As a former member of the Flying Bird sect, he's an absolute master of aerial combat. Before Seven can even land, Blackbird is all over him, landing hit after hit and keeping him pinned in the sky. He grabs Seven and starts dragging him through trees and obstacles to wear him down. Seven knew saving Mai Hoa would be dangerous, but this is brutal. Seven isn't just taking the hits, though. He's looking for an opening to counterattack. Unfortunately, he ends up right where Blackbird wants him for another massive move. Black Widow watches with a smirk, knowing that with his aerial advantage, Blackbird can just keep this combo going until Seven is dead. The final blow is coming, but Seven remains eerily calm. He pours his energy into the 1,000 demon daggers and sends the shards flying straight into the dark abyss of Blackbird's body. That abyss might look like a black hole, but you can't just destroy a divine weapon like that. Seven unleashes his ultimate technique. The shards explode outward from inside Blackbird, shredding his body from the interior. Blood sprays everywhere as the internal damage is catastrophic. But to everyone's absolute horror, the guy is somehow still standing. Seven is stunned. He quickly recalls his blade shards, but Blackbird is already charging at him. "You can't kill me," he sneers, his eyes glowing with a ghostly red light. It turns out that back in the day, the Black faction of the Flying Bird sect was forced to practice a forbidden, dark art. That dark training basically turns your body over to evil, but if you survive, you become an immortal bird of the shadows. Blackbird is using that immortal body to relentlessly grind Seven down. Thankfully, as the world's top assassin, Seven's swordsmanship is still second to none, allowing him to break free. Blackbird is like a leech, refusing to let go. But Seven stays icy calm and finally manages to land back on the ground. His speed is incredible, matching Blackbird move for move. He's going blow for blow and refusing to back down, but you can tell the fatigue is starting to set in. After so many battles, Seven's stamina is finally failing, and he's being forced back. Even when he lands a perfect hit, it doesn't seem to bother the immortal assassin. Blackbird is actually letting himself get hit just so he can land a counterstrike on 7-8. It's a brutal but effective trade. Just as things are looking bleak, a single ray of sunlight pierces through the trees. That's when it hits Seven. The immortal bird of shadows must be weak to light. He immediately slashes his way out of the grapple and puts some distance between them to rethink his strategy. The sun doesn't make him burst into flames or anything, but it's enough of a clue for Seven. He charges him with incredible speed, using some tricky footwork to keep the assassin guessing. In a fight like this, you just know he's looking for that one opening to strike from behind. Blackbird predicts the flank, but he falls right into Seven's trap. Seven uses the intense sunlight to blind him for a split second. He channels all his power into the demon blade for one massive strike. It's a huge hit, but even this might not be enough to kill an immortal. Blackbird knows that if he doesn't overcome this weakness, he's finished. He was forced into that dark training as a child so his sect could dominate the shadows. It's his greatest strength and his deadliest weapon. He's not about to let a little sunlight stop him now. Blackbird ties on a blindfold and prepares his trump card. Legend has it he can transform into a total shadow demon. Seven can feel the overwhelming murderous intent radiating from him. He's not going to just stand there and watch, though. He uses his blade to launch himself into the air. Seven catches him off guard with an aerial strike, landing a heavy blow. Since the guy won't die, Seven decides to just keep shredding him. He slices off the blindfold, disrupting the dark ritual. Without his focus, Blackbird is wide open and Seven proceeds to slash him into ribbons. This time it looks like the immortal bird is actually feeling the damage. He's staring death in the face again. The last time he felt like this was during the Great Purge, when the white faction of his sect decided to wipe out the black faction to make their reputation look cleaner. It was a brutal betrayal. Blackbird and his followers were tossed aside like trash, and he's been fueled by rage ever since. Every time he almost dies, he unlocks even more terrifying power. Even Seven is shocked, as a pair of massive black wings suddenly sprout from the assassin's back. Blackbird has become a literal demon, and lunges at Seven for the final kill. Is this the end for our hero? No. Suddenly, the black wings shatter. All that dark energy is being sucked into Seven's demon blade. The demonic eye on the hilt of the sword begins to glow with a terrifying new life. It's a transformation no one expected. Both fighters are completely drained and fall from the sky. It turns out Blackbird didn't have a truly immortal body, he just couldn't feel pain. But now the physical damage has finally surpassed what his body can handle. He's been living on borrowed time since his defeat by the White faction. The fact that his own sect threw him away just for the sake of appearances has haunted him every single day. He realized all that brotherly love from his master was just a lie, leaving him with nothing but pain and hatred. Blackbird hits the ground and draws his final breath. Black Widow silently covers his body, performing one last technique to restore his handsome face. Then, she turns her gaze towards Seven. He's covered in wounds and still fighting the effects of that dark poison, yet he managed to take down a high-level opponent. She admits that his reputation as the world's best is well-deserved. "This is exactly the kind of man I like," she says, "worthy of me killing him personally." Seven would probably prefer it if she didn't like him that way. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, Qing Feng is making his move. Mei Huo's master, Qing Feng, walks into the Shadow Assassin headquarters of the Heavy Expression. He's one of their top elites, but the leader is suspicious since he returned without finishing his mission. Qing Feng simply says he has a report to make and someone he needs to assassinate right now. A target, the leader himself. Qing Feng draws his sword, but the leader just smiles. He's clearly confident and wonders where Qing Feng is getting the guts to challenge him. Qing Feng coldly replies that he knows exactly what the leader's weakness is. He's confident he can win as long as the other Shadow Assassins aren't around. It turns out that poisoning Seven was all part of a long-term plan to keep the other assassins busy. Seven's Berserk episodes were just a distraction Qing Feng needed to get the leader alone. The moment has finally come. Qing Feng unleashes his overwhelming inner energy and strikes directly at the leader, but out of nowhere, another person appears beside the leader. This mysterious newcomer is actually faster than Qing Feng, delivering a dangerous kick that forces him back. Qing Feng realizes he made a massive oversight. This Mesher is a formidable opponent. He didn't even see the attack coming. Even though she's just a messenger, her reputation for traveling 1,000 miles a day clearly hints at her incredible speed and power. It was a rare mistake for Qing Feng. He's immediately put on the defensive as the messenger launches a follow-up attack. Fortunately, while she might be faster on her feet, Qing Feng's blade speed is just as quick, allowing him to block her next flurry of blows. But then, she kicks it into an even higher gear. She's moving so fast that Qing Feng actually gets disarmed. But he shows the true skill of a grandmaster by staying perfectly still and using a quiet defense to block her strikes from every direction. He then uses his telekinetic powers to pull his sword back and launch a sharp counterattack. Despite his skills, the speed gap is just too wide and Qing Feng is forced back onto the defensive once more. His opponent is still fresh and increases her speed yet again. Seeing this, Qing Feng suddenly changes his tactics and closes his eyes. What is he planning? The messenger mocks him, claiming she's faster than sound itself. But when she goes in for the kill, her blade is stopped cold by a massive wall of pure internal energy. Qing Feng's true trump card is his bottomless well of power. He immediately counterattacks using his sword techniques to shatter her offensive. He lands a devastating blow that looks like it should have killed her, but she suddenly vanishes and reappears right behind him. Qing Feng realizes he's being lured into a battle of attrition. The leader just laughs, asking if he could have ever predicted this outcome. Just as the leader thinks he's won, Qing Feng reveals he actually anticipated this too. He lunges forward, and while the messenger tries to intercept him, he's ready for her. He unleashes a terrifying blood-red barrier that surges out from his body, trapping everyone inside. The barrier completely surrounds the leader. Qing Feng knows that while the messenger is incredibly fast, her internal energy is actually quite weak. He's confident that she won't be able to break through his barrier no matter how many times she hits it. Maintaining the barrier is draining his energy by the second, though. The leader asks if he really thinks this is enough to win. Instead of answering directly, Qing Feng starts telling a story about a small kingdom called Qingyun that existed 10 years ago in the north. Assassins were sent there to steal a national treasure, a mission the leader handled personally. He wiped out the entire royal family, but he was surprised when a single swordsman from that tiny nation actually managed to cut off one of his arms before being killed. It seems the past is finally catching up with everyone. Before passing away, the master revealed the assassin leader's weakness to his disciple. However, Dan Feng refused to use the dual blades, explaining that he had never relied on them before. Now, he stands ready to seek vengeance for his master, his father the king, and all the citizens of the Thonvan kingdom against the assassin leader. Having cost the leader an arm, Dan Feng has officially become his greatest enemy. Long ago, when the assassins first infiltrated the Thonvan kingdom, the people lived in peaceful ignorance. But from the shadows, sharp blades began to strike, secretly claiming the lives of the innocent in a series of brutal, bloody massacres. Blood and tragedy filled the air as cries of sorrow reached the heavens. The ruthless assassin leader showed no mercy, intending to leave no survivors. His final target was the Shadow King's family. As the darkness spread, the leader's powerful sorcery terrified the young Thon Fong like a living nightmare. His father fought desperately to protect him, but the assassin leader was too powerful, coldly striking down the prince of Thon Van. In that moment, young Thon overcame his fear and rushed at the enemy, only to witness another relative fall while trying to save him. For a child, this helplessness was agonizing. As the palace burned and collapsed upon the suffering boy, it was the breaking point. Thon Fong screamed in hopeless rage. Believing the weak child could never escape the inferno, the assassin leader walked away coldly. Today, Thon Fong burns with a thirst for vengeance as the final duel approaches. Words are no longer necessary. The consequences of the past are clear. The assassin leader drew his blade, and the very atmosphere seemed to shift. The area transformed into a lethal hell as his body swelled like a demon god aiming a strike directly at Thon Fong. Elsewhere, we see Dai Bao's unlucky face. He is overjoyed because Kola has finally woken up thanks to the medicine Ah Chi brought back. She and the others are currently in the underground city of the Outlier Kingdom. Upon waking, Kola's first question is about Ah Chi's whereabouts. Unfortunately, since he hid his tracks, Dai Bao has no idea where he is. Len Minghua gave Dai Bao a Heavenly Dragon Gang token, promising his sex help. Kola is a sweet girl. Despite just recovering, she asks about both Ah Chi and Four Eyes, the ones who risked everything for her. Speaking of Four Eyes, he had reached the Divine Doctor Kingdom after a long, arduous journey. Facing a peculiar Divine Doctor, he could only weakly threaten him. The Doctor, bored by his own medical genius, welcomed the threat and asked what he wanted. He then challenged Four Eyes to taste a medicinal broth he had prepared. If he could identify all the herbs in the mixture, he would receive the medicine. While Xuan Wu speaks with fists, the Divine Doctor Kingdom speaks through medicine. The concoction was so complex that even Prince Stan's scientific technology couldn't analyze it. Meanwhile, on Flower Street in Xuanwu, Long Eight and Gata Tien's gang was busy collecting protection money and searching for the one who caused his recent headache, Dao Bao. Speak of the devil. Long and Gata Tien got hit in the head with a manhole cover. Seeing Dai Bao, the gang surrounded him. However, learning from past mistakes, Xiao Fei transformed into a muscular warrior using instant muscle supplements. Looking bitter than Superman, the gang fled in terror. Even the leader knelt to beg for mercy. This established Dai Bao and Xiao Fei's reputation in the Shaowen Wool underworld. They headed straight for the Heavenly Dragon Gang headquarters. Upon receiving the leader's token, a signal flare was fired. Luckily, it was at night, or it might have been mistaken for fireworks. Through this signal, thousands of disciples across the kingdom began the search. Soon word arrived that Ah Chi had been spotted at the Eagle God statue. However, the directions were as vague as at the intersection with the traffic lights. Dai Bao was frustrated, but since they had Xiao Fei, they just flew in a straight line. They were still 300 miles away. Ouyang Zhan was eavesdropping, wondering if they would make it in time. By nightfall, Dai Bao reached the statue, only to find traces of a battle that had started long ago. Ouyang Zhan arrived shortly after. They noticed a strange phenomenon in the nearby forest, proving the battle was still raging. Dai Bao and Xiao Fei rushed to assist, while Ouyang Zhan noted that Ah Chi's power had become terrifyingly immense. He wondered why Ah Chi wanted to kill his own master. Back at the fight, Ah Chi had collapsed from exhaustion. Plum Blossom tried to defend him, but the Black Widow wouldn't let them go easily. Plum Blossom's skills were impressive, but they paled in comparison to a top-tier shadow assassin. Black Widow was merely playing with her prey before finishing them off. She launched hidden weapons that pierced Plum Blossom's defenses, even with her protective chi. The needles were poisoned. Black Widow then released a toxic smoke to surround them both. Boasting that she was the least violent among the shadow assassins, she warned that the powder would soon cause them to lose consciousness. Plum Blossom tried to hold her breath, but her endurance was reaching its limit. Suddenly, an explosion rang out. Someone dived into the fray. It was Xiao Fei's electric dragon strike. His target was a Black Widow, but the toxic cloud, clearing the air and saving Plum Blossom. Xiao Fei struck a pose, showing off his physique. Black Widow, having lived for years, found him repulsive and wanted him dead immediately, but she fell for their trap. Xiao Fei's distraction gave Dai Bao the chance to transform and launch a relentless claw attack. It was their only shot. Unfortunately, they only managed to tear her clothes. She calmly noted that the once elidary Ah Chi now had many good friends. Dai Bao urged Xiao Fei to take Ah Chi and run. He told Plum Blossom to escape as well while he held the line. With no other choice, she followed Xiaofei to protect Achi. Furious, Black Widow unleashed a barrage of needles. Dai Bao cleverly transformed into a needle and vanished with the wind. However, Xiaofei's escape was blocked by a new foe, a giant boulder thrown by an invisible force. Xiaofei shattered the rock with a punch, but the rock man was waiting inside. His superior strength sent Xiaofei flying, and the shockwave knocked Achi away as well. As the rock man prepared a finishing blow, Wu Yangzan intervened. His coming fist was famous, but it hurt his own hand. The rock man's body was as hard as stone. The attack only made the rock man laugh. Just then, Black Widow's needles arrived, and one revealed itself to be Dai Bao. He grabbed Xiaofei and Achi, and they all flew off together. The rockman didn't linger with Yangzan. He manipulated the earth to create stone pillars, using them as stepping stones to give chase. Wu Yangzan followed, still doubting Achi's past. He couldn't let Achi die before uncovering the truth. As the rockman closed in, Wu Yangzan unleashed a massive strike that shattered the giant's shoe soles. The rockman's internal energy dissipated, and he fell from the sky. Wu Yangzan's hand was injured while the giant seemed relatively unfazed. He asked why Wu Yangzan was helping Achi. Wu Yangzan simply wanted to ask Achi an important question. Thanks to the distractions, Dai Bao successfully got Achi away. Meanwhile, Black Widow had captured Plum Blossom to use as leverage against her master. Elsewhere, a mysterious assassin mocked Achi's vow to take the Shadow Leader's head. He searched Achi's barbershop, convinced the #1 assassin would return there. After finding some photos, White Fox wandered the island and asked a security guard about the handsome Achi. The guard jokingly claimed the photo was of himself. The assassin clarified he was looking for the one with the scissors and the dazed expression. Forced to comply, the guard called Dai Bao. Achi was currently being treated for critical wounds. Dai Bao answered the phone. White Fox told him to tell Achi that he was waiting at Chicken Island. If Achi didn't show up, the phone ran out of credit before he could finish the threat. White Fox felt ridiculous. He complained to the guard about the lack of funds, but the guard demanded 10 coins for the call. White Fox began to channel his energy, and the guard suddenly collapsed. It wasn't White Fox's doing. The guard's kidney stones had flared up. White Fox used a burst of energy to shatter the egg-sized stone inside the guard, who groaned in relief. He then told the guard to drink plenty of water to flush out the fragments. The guard hailed him as a divine doctor. Acting cool, White Fox said he wasn't a doctor, but a master of energy who could make people explode, though saving a life felt surprisingly good. He hoped the guard would be grateful, but instead, the guard brought a crowd of seniors, introducing him as a miracle worker. White Fox ended up becoming famous among the island's elderly. He couldn't refuse them. Meanwhile, the master of Xuanwu stated that Achi's rare poison and deep wounds were beyond help. Frustrated, Dai Bao punched the doctor for giving up. Just as things looked grim, the world's greatest doctor appeared, though he looked more like a salesman. He'd already dealt with Prince Stan and arrived just in time for Achi. As the doctor worked, White Fox was still busy with the island's seniors. He continued to ask around about Achi, hearing stories of the kind barber who helped everyone. Claiming he just wanted a haircut, he asked 2 locals to help him contact Achi. They gave him a business card, noting that they didn't have a permanent phone. When Achi finally woke up and asked about Plum Blossom, Dai Bao told him they couldn't save everyone. Then, White Fox's call came through, threatening the island. White Fox, enjoying the sun and coconut water, admired Achi's peaceful life. A little girl accidentally sprayed him with a water gun, and he played along, making her laugh. But the moment passed, and he unleashed his power, destroying the beach's attractions. The island's defenders prepared to fight, while Achi decided he had to return, even if it meant leaving his love behind. Quaylin, after her battle with Red Tooth, searched the rubble for treasures to pay the island's doctor to save him. Saving a shadow assassin was a monumental task. The doctor's needles only bought him 3 days. Helion took him out to sea, remembering their past. He had once wanted to run away with her to open a bun shop. Helion had refused because of her duty to the Sky Lotus sect. The master had chosen Huilian specifically because she was disciplined and avoided love. She was entrusted with the sect's ultimate technique. In the past, when she accepted the leadership, her relationship with Red Tooth ended. He understood the prestige of the technique she sought. They hadn't met since then. Ironically, it was her heartbreak that finally allowed her to master the technique. One rainy night, Red Tooth returned for revenge with demonic powers. As the master tried to punish him, Huilian arrived. Red Tooth was being consumed by his own demonic art. His years of resentment were overflowing. He attacked his former master, feeling betrayed by the sect's rules. As the master prepared to finish him, Helion stepped in to save him. The master warned her that saving a traitor meant exile. Huilian, overcome with guilt and love, confessed that she had already broken the sect's rules. Redtooth was unconscious and didn't hear her. The master told her that to save him, she had to endure the Sky Lotus punishment. Huilian agreed. Under the sect's holy light, her body aged rapidly. Her fellow disciples begged for mercy, but the master remained silent. Huilian eventually carried Redtooth away. Years later, the master passed away, and Huilian regretted never seeing her again. Now that the sect was destroyed, she felt like a failure. She only returned to the Blood Demon Cave to save Redtooth. This was where he first gained his power after being mocked for loving the sect leader. He had been bullied and weak. He made a pact with the Blood Demon for strength, promising to break its seal. He had to give up his original martial arts. Driven by hate, he slaughtered many to defeat the demon. Huilian eventually used the Sky Lotus seal to contain the demon within him, but he fled. Now, Redtooth woke up in the blood pool. Huilian was relieved, but the demon was still trying to take control. He needed to be purified. Redtooth blamed Huilian's seal for his defeat by Achio. He vowed to kill Thanfeng. He had become a man driven solely by vengeance. He was trapped by the same chains that once held the blood demon. Huilian told him that if he stayed, the demon would eventually die off. Redtooth laughed, refusing to give up his power. He attacked Huilian, who was forced to use her White Lotus form to restrain him. Huilian easily suppressed Redtooth. However, just like the previous encounters, Redtooth's monstrous endurance and ability to absorb damage allowed him to begin his counteroffensive. His deep understanding of Sky Lotus martial arts gave him an edge in predicting Huilian's movements. Huilian's skill level was far beyond Redtooth's, and she struck him again, causing him to cough up blood. Dealing with such a resilient enemy left her with no choice but to be ruthless, yet seeing him so severely injured made her heart soften. Memories of the past's humiliation flashed before Redtooth's eyes. Refusing to be humiliated again, Redtooth launched a desperate, uncontrolled attack that only led to a quicker defeat. Huilian bound him with the divine chains, leaving him unable to move. Despite this, he used his raw strength to lunge forward and bite her. Huilian couldn't bring herself to be heartless. Redtooth was shocked by her reaction but refused to let his guard down. Huilian, however, wasn't going to let him see her weak side either. Redtooth then bit down hard on the rock wall beside her. Huilian acted decisively, launching him into the air, but she inexplicably faltered at the final second. Redtooth immediately countered with blinding speed, and the two were separated. Huilian was bleeding, and Redtooth approached with a cold, unreadable expression. Redtooth revealed that the White Lotus technique needed a kiss from the opposite sex to activate. He mocked the sex rules, questioning why a secret technique would require something so forbidden. Huilian's face turned red as she tried to defend her actions. She claimed she was forced by the situation, and only transformed to gain enough power to purify the blood demon. For a brief moment, the image of the kind senior sister from the past returned to Redtooth's mind, making him feel like the innocent younger disciple he once was. Their moment was interrupted by Huilian's phone ringing. A resident of Chicken Island called to report that they were under attack by White Fox and could no longer hold him off. The call was cut short, leaving Huilian deeply worried. Redtooth told her to go if she had to. Meanwhile, White Fox waited calmly for Achi's return, eating his meal and killing anyone who crossed his path. Achi felt a deep sense of powerlessness, knowing so many were in danger because of him. Most of the strong defenders had left the island for their own reasons. Daibao insisted that Achi focus on recovering his health first. Kola, however, wanted to return to the island and asked Prince Stan to escort her. The prince agreed, arguing that Achi would only be throwing his life away. He claimed he could handle White Fox himself, wanting to prove the technological superiority of Stan to the Xuanwu Kingdom. On the island, Miao and Ao Tai attempted a coordinated musical attack. The dog led the charge with a rock performance, but White Fox easily crushed his guitar and defeated the entire group. He only spared them because he wanted to get some sleep. The divine doctor examined Achi and found 3 remaining layers of toxin. While his life was no longer in danger, the first layer, the flower love toxin, caused weakness and blurred consciousness. The second, the black ice toxin, triggered destructive animalistic instincts. The most dangerous was the third layer, dream life death, a legendary poison that caused total memory loss. Achi had lived with it for a long time, and now wanted it removed to reclaim his past, which startled Daibao. Daibao tried to stop the treatment, but Achi had already made up his mind. That night, Achi met with Lan Manghua, who explained that only a master with immense internal power could neutralize such a poison. Forgetting might have been a way to leave the past, but the past was still chasing him. Achi felt that only by facing it could he truly be free. Lan Manghua, who also had things he wished to forget, admired Achi's courage and agreed to help, instructing him to prepare for the procedure. Dai Bao, appearing out of concern, wanted Achi to remain as he was for his own safety. But seeing his friend's determination, he relented. Cao Fei returned the Thousand Demon Dagger to Achi, allowing him to choose his own destiny. Dai Bao selfishly wanted to keep his friend the barber forever, but he knew it was time for Achi to move forward. They began the process. After the Divine Doctor applied the acupuncture needles, Lam Minghua unleashed his incredible internal energy. As the toxin was purged, fragments of Achi's tragic past as a shadow assassin flooded back. Meanwhile, on the island, White Fox grew impatient and decided to kill more people. But Prince Stan finally arrived to stop him. Prince Stan recognized White Fox as an enemy of his country and immediately engaged him. A fierce battle erupted, showcasing a mix of high technology and raw martial power. However, despite his advanced gear, Stan struggled to keep up with his opponent's speed. Stan used his combat experience to dodge and counter with powerful firepower, but White Fox proved to be a formidable adversary. Stan then activated his most destructive mode to end the fight. A massive beam of light was fired, but White Fox vanished and reappeared behind Stan with terrifying speed. His strange internal energy began to disintegrate Stan's high-tech armor, leaving the prince completely overwhelmed and facing certain death. Cola intervened, claiming the fight wasn't fair because Stan's armor was low on energy. She argued that the result would be different if he were at full power. White Fox, amused by her words, showed his disdain for the prince. Stan was humiliated, but Cola whispered for him to stay calm and wait for a better chance. Surprisingly, White Fox accepted the challenge and agreed to wait, allowing them to retreat for the time being. Stan felt a deep sense of shame, but Cola mentioned the existence of energy stones on the island. As a resident, she gave him full authorization to use them, though the energy required a complex conversion process. Desperate to win, the prince risked everything to charge his systems. The next day, the battle resumed with a massive surprise attack. White Fox found the increased power level highly entertaining. Stan used new transformation with powerful shields and offensive capabilities, but White Fox's unique energy was the perfect counter. He easily shattered the technological defenses and destroyed the robot. However, White Fox found himself pinned down. Stan seized the opportunity to launch a rapid-fire energy blade attack. Though he performed much better than before, White Fox's energy still managed to dissolve one of the robot's arms. Stan was once again at White Fox's mercy, but the assassin suddenly found his body frozen. Cola had used her special ability to paralyze him and shouted for Stan to strike immediately. Stan took the chance, coordinating a massive strike, but White Fox's power was enough to break Cola's paralysis. He coldly redirected his energy to eliminate her first. Faced with the choice to defeat his enemy or save Cola, Stan chose to protect her, taking the full force of White Fox's attack. Both were sent flying. White Fox then turned his attention back to Cola, seeing her as a nuisance. Despite her illness, Cola was beloved by everyone on the island. He Yi used the last of his strength to fire a sniper shot that nearly caught White Fox off guard, proving that even the weak characters were brave. Unfortunately, White Fox was too strong and all their efforts seemed in vain. He Wei fell in a pool of blood. White Fox was injured but still standing. Chuanfeng refused to let a little girl be killed and charged forward. Chuanfeng was slapped aside, with White Fox calling him a coward for watching his friends die. This struck a deep chord in Chuanfeng's soul, and despite the pain, he continued his desperate assault. The sight was heartbreaking, but Chuanfeng had no intention of stopping, even if it meant his death. Just as he was about to be finished, other islanders joined the distraction, using whatever they had to throw White Fox off balance. The distraction worked, allowing Chuanfeng to land a surprising kick right to White Fox's face. For someone as powerful as White Fox, this was a massive insult. He unleashed his full power in a rage. Chuanfeng collapsed, and it seemed the island's defenders were finally defeated. But at that moment, a savior appeared. It was the assassin Redtooth, who had been presumed dead. Redtooth declared that White Fox should be looking for the traitor Than Fong instead. This was his reason for intervening, as part of a deal with his senior sister. He attacked fiercely, and while White Fox was powerful, Redtooth's raw brutality gave him the upper hand as his claws pierced through his opponent. Since the White Lotus Seal was released, the opponent's Red Fang has completely transformed. Despite the overwhelming internal energy the White Fox transferred to him, he simply smiled it off as if it were a joke. Back to the match in episode 10, Than Fong's adversary is now transforming into a giant, delivering a heavy downward strike of immense power. The power of that blade was terrifying, and Than Fong struggled immensely to dodge it. He quickly launched a fierce counterattack, but after only a few more moves, the shockwaves from the enemy's strikes were enough to leave him seriously injured. He grew increasingly disadvantaged as the match seemed to lean entirely in one direction. However, just like in his past battles, Than Fong has a finishing move. His master once told him that the blade used by the assassin leader is known as the Blade of Fear, which can create illusions during combat. To win, one must overcome their fear, and Tan Fong succeeded, turning the tide against his opponent's demonic power. He unleashed his strongest sword technique, and the barrier shattered under the full force of his strike. It seemed the assassin leader would die there, but fortunately, his subordinate used incredible speed to shield his master and quickly counterattack. This resulted in mutual injuries, and the robotic subordinate eventually collapsed. The leader of the Xuanwu Kingdom actually used technology from the land of Stan to save his life. What a joke. By this point, Tan Fong was heavily wounded and had missed his best chance to kill the enemy, yet his fighting spirit did not waver as he decided to re-engage. Suddenly, the robot projected an image of a wounded Mai Hoa. Tan Fong claimed that such a sight wouldn't be enough to shake him, asserting that Mai Hoa was merely a pawn used to make the world believe he was the successor of the double blade style. But why was he so determined to seek revenge? How can a man with feelings truly be heartless? The assassin leader likely exploited this exact weakness. Hu De, standing beside Mai Hoa, coldly informed her that she only had half an hour left to save Tan Fong. After all these elaborate schemes, did she still want to rescue him? That emotional turmoil was likely part of the assassin leader's calculations as the battle began once more. Tan Fong, wanting a quick victory, used his full potential. The subordinate robot tried to protect its master again, but was easily crushed. However, because of this, Tan Fong missed his best chance to kill the enemy and was forced to leave in haste. The assassin leader was heavily wounded and did not pursue. However, leaving him in such a dangerous situation will likely lead to trouble later. Meanwhile, Mai Hoa was rescued, but Hu De told her she had been infected with a highly contagious and lethal toxin. She tried to blackmail Fan for the antidote, but he was never the type to compromise with such people. Mai Hoa later apologized to her master for ruining his plans, but Tan Fong comforted her, admitting that he didn't actually have a guaranteed chance of winning anyway. The assassin leader feared death too much to take a final gamble. Given his status, many assassins would surely hunt Tan Fong down next. He didn't hesitate to tell Mai Hoa about his entire past and his revenge plan, explaining how he had ruthlessly used everyone to achieve his goals. He admitted that using Seven also meant using Mai Hoa. That past involving the double blade style wasn't actually his strongest martial art. It's unclear whether his time as her master was sincere or a lie, but at this moment, Tan Fong offered to teach Mai Hoa his true technique, the Flowing Cloud Sword. Tan Fong then departed, perhaps for the last time, much like Seven had before. Facing countless enemies, this gifted prince, recognized by both his father and his master, had only ever made one miscalculation in his life. He underestimated his feelings for his disciple Mai Hoa. He had already transferred all the poison from her body to his own. Now, facing Hu De, while unable to use his internal energy, the Grandmaster proved his status, as Hu De still couldn't gain the upper hand despite her attacks. Unexpectedly, another of the 7 shadow assassins, Thok Fu, arrived. He teamed up with Hu Dai to attack once more. Under their combined force, Tan Fong's injuries worsened, yet he remained determined to fight to the death, unleashing his extraordinary swordsmanship. That superb swordsmanship blocked the enemy's advance, but Thok Fu successfully drew all of Tan Fong's attention. Hu Dai launched a surprise attack that nearly killed him, but besides the Flowing Cloud Sword, Tan Fong still knew the double blade style as remaining blade struck down the cunning assassin. He then collapsed. The assassin leader appeared at the perfect moment, but Tan Fong showed no regret for his actions. As his master once said, "No life is less valuable than another." Life isn't a game of chess where you must calculate every gain and loss. If you follow your heart, there is no need for shame or worry. The final 2 episodes of Scissor 7 Season 4 left us with a deep impression. If Tan Fong had sacrificed his disciple for revenge, the series wouldn't be worth watching anymore. Hopefully Season 5 of Scissor 7 will bring even more intense emotions. Stay tuned and wait for